naar die ontbijtjes. Dat je gewoon rustig inderdaad, croissantje, chocobroodje. Ehm, Ondertussen ben ik al live gegaan. So we're live already. Don't worry, probably 0 viewers right now. But anyway, we're gonna do a digital podcast this day with my great friend Max, long-time friend and long-time non-stoner anymore. Like one of the few friends that I've had that actually stoned and stopped with it. You know, it's a rare occurrence these days. It's so the picture was not to throw you under the bus. Yeah. Yeah, it's my. Yeah, that was your thing, you know, like with the big blunts and then sending a picture. um, I'm gonna do a real quick audio check because I have muted you, of course. How do I fix this? Like this. I think if can you speak a bit and then I can check in 5 seconds.
Hello.
Yeah, that was your thing,
I
you
can
know,
speak.
like with
I can speak.
and then
No.
sending a picture. Before the first podcast with TB, he was like muted for the audience for half an hour or something.
I have muted you.
I don't want that over again.
Like this.
Let's see it. Can you speak a bit and then I can check in 5 seconds.
Hello.
Okay, alright. It seems to be working very well. Top, all good at my side. How are you doing, Max? All good there?
Yeah, I was chilling. 4th of July. I went to my place of work. I could actually almost show you guys. Like I'm sitting at the
Damn.
at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway inside the dome.
It's a pretty dope office.
Yeah, it's good connect. Yeah, well, it's like basically not an office. It's a place that we can use, but I find it really important, definitely in my work life, to have a differentiation between your work, like your home and the work that you do a lot of times, because like I don't like I up until this day I cannot do I don't like doing work from home. It just like I would rather stay here until 9 o'clock in the evening and then go home and then not touch anything there. Like there's something mentally, a switch that
Yeah.
goes on. Like an email that would take you maybe 20 minutes takes you 40 minutes at home. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just like, oh yeah,
I
let me
feel
make a
like
snack.
it's the opposite for me. When I'm at work, I'm like, oh, chilling, like I'm already at work. I can do whatever I want. Like
You felt accomplished already.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I can take half an hour for this email. Nobody cares because I'm here. And then I'm at home, I'm like, okay, let's speed run this. Let's do all the tasks so I have as much free time as possible. So I guess it goes both ways, you know. For some people it works. For some people it's like, yeah, I cannot deal at home with work.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like yeah, it's a weird habit that I started forming, and I think it's like I agree with you. Like I already feel a sense of accomplishment from going to one space to the other, and it just sets me up for success throughout the day. Then you know what I'm saying? Definitely.
Yeah.
Like I have to start early. If I start late, like even now today, I got here at like 9 o'clock, and it already feels different. You know, because like you feel like you could have done X amount throughout a day, and like daylight is so valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like definitely during when we can get to that later too. Like in my stoner days too, that was a big thing. You know, like you smoke a joint at 10 o'clock, and you're only gonna go to bed at like 1 or 2, like easy. It was yesterday exactly the same. You know, it was just like holy Moses. It's just like your mind is racing in so many different directions that it takes a lot to find that strength to center yourself again,
Yeah,
and
like
that's why I need. Yeah,
focus yourself on the mission or the goal. Like there are many distractions nowadays, and unfortunately we inherently have some vices that that work against us. So I'm really glad that we can have this talk today. Let's maybe go back to the introduction first. So today we want to talk about the fear of failure, and more especially in relation to marijuana. I think a lot of us realize that marijuana is a very easy drug to use, and it masks a lot of fears, especially the fear of failure, I think, or we think. I believe you're at the same idea or we have the same idea about that. So yeah, maybe first off, you want to give a little quick snippet of who you are and why you're in Las Vegas, or you don't think the audience?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I'm Max, a longtime friend of Benji. I'm half American, half Dutch. I grew up most of my life in Belgium, but then when I was 16, I left to go do a boarding school, an international boarding school in the Netherlands. After that, I was like kind of hooked on the idea of just like going outside of your comfort zone a little bit, and I was just like, I was fascinated with just like going as far away as possible and just like opening up my horizons. So I moved to the US, first did a gap year there, basically working for AmeriCorps, which was an exhausting and hard thing, but then I did my undergrad in the US too. Spent there 5 years, came back to Europe with COVID. I finished my master's in the Netherlands, and then I came back to the US. First 6 months of 2023, I was in Washington, D.C., working at a lobbying consultancy firm, which was interesting. But I don't know, like I was excited and hungry for a new experience, and something presented itself to start working with a startup that was basically starting in Las Vegas, and I was just like, I hopped onto that ship, and that's why I am where I am right now.
Yeah, that last switch was probably in a few days' notice. Like you met a guy, and 2 days later you're in Las Vegas or something like that. Was it?
Yeah, it was like I think like in total the process was like 3 weeks, but from the moment I got the contract, so like really like he was like, I want you here, that was like a week time. And yeah, not a lot to think. I had to leave DC, pack up all my stuff. It was a crazy experience, a roller coaster of a ride. But like, yeah, it was just like, a little bit of the risk taker in me, like the gambling, the one that will fall for your pyramid schemes. Yeah, that was also part of that.
I don't believe you're that much of a gambler. I do believe you're a risk taker, but you're not a gambler, I think that's different.
100%. Like I'm a risk taker. But there's a little bit of a, I can understand the feeling a little bit. It's like they're not the same, but they're associated a little bit. It's just like a risk and a gamble at the same time. I think like mine is more well thought out than like sitting at a roulette table and like betting on something, but there's still like an inherent unknown that thrills and excites you, like that this could be something big and that you could be part of it, whereas like I think gambling plays on that on a much shorter but like a much lower scale, but it's repetitive. I can't join a startup every day, but I could gamble every day. So like
I think every gamble is a risk you take, but not every risk you take is a gamble. Like
exactly.
The risk you take
100%.
is more thought of and more like with a plan than just putting it on red. I hope for you. Otherwise, America would have been a disaster, I think, if you hadn't planned it out.
No, 100%.
So maybe we can first start off after this introduction. I don't know if you want anything else to add to that, but
no, I could also just add like I did because we're also going to delve into the topic of smoking weed, marijuana, whatever you want to call it. I did smoke a lot of weed during my time. I had some points that I stopped, but I think my first time I I smoked weed was when I was 14 or something, like 14, 15, like 14 was my first bowl that I did, and that was like in, I think 10th. I was going into no, I was going, yeah, no, 10th grade. So
High
we
school,
didn't know any.
what is that?
Yeah,
Third high school or something?
fourth high school. Like it was in the summer between the third and fourth, and I still remember the fourth. That's where I think me and you started connecting. Like we didn't know anything, you know. We didn't even know how to get like weed at that point in our lives. You know, that was a very, a very different thing. But I was like, oh, I did this, and I didn't even get high that first time I did
Yeah.
something. And that whole year, basically, from like when I turned 15, then you know, like I didn't get high. Like we had so much tobacco, and we had like a friend, well, a guy, like I think Thomas, you know, like and
Who
like
was
I
it?
don't know, Thomas. The like I don't want to say names, you know, like I'm not
Yeah.
outing people, but
No,
like,
no, okay.
uh, but I remember like it was at Gautier's house. We got that violin, you know, like I don't remember that bong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
no, like
violin bong.
I don't remember being really high during that period of time. And well, maybe that bong was like actually the year after that because like I
Yeah, the
still
bong
remember
was
we
a
were just like
was a bit more later. I think we first started
yeah,
smoking with the people around us in the basketball group.
yeah,
Um, and I guess we didn't have the best dealers back then, and we also were like spicing it just, like few fluxes, and
yeah,
then we
we
were
did,
like, oh
and
damn, I'm feeling this.
and, and I feel like and I feel like we definitely got scammed, you know, like because like we didn't know what marijuana was, like because like I still remember like if this is high, like this is the most stupid like thing ever because like we would just get like dizzy from the tobacco, you know, like that's
Yeah,
but it was so sporadic at that time point in life, you know, like we didn't do that in it wasn't it was only in the summer of between 10th and 11th grade. That's where I got high again with uh my like cousins,
yeah,
and that was a big
that was a turning point.
that was that was a big turning point because like I still remember being at their apartment and like I took a hit from the bong and oof, damn, like actually that was like my first experience, and I think it's like it speaks to a lot of people. It was like straight up paranoia. I still remember like the music was playing and I heard the basses and I thought the police was knocking the whole time, but like I was like, I don't know, yeah, it was crazy, but I was just like, oh, this is what's high. And I came back to Belgium and I was just like, I know what weed is and I
Yeah, I
find it an
remember that
amazing drug,
moment
you know.
when you came
Yeah.
back and you were like all hyped about, dude, this is not how we should get high. And then I think from there on we upscaled a bit the
Mm.
quality and the quantity of our of our usage.
Yeah, but like also like it was so crazy. You and me, I even in that year, like the trips that we did together just to get weed, you know, like sitting on
Yeah,
buses for like I remember
we went to
Ian, you know, like they were
crazy
like, oh,
places, like 2 hour
crazy
bus
places
drive to nowhere, and then we had to wait at
to
some
meet this,
random place, and then
yeah, like to see a skinny white dude, you know, like who was like the same age as us, like it was like how like that also like I don't know if you know like the program like the In-Betweeners, right? It's just like we're not cool enough. We weren't cool
yeah,
enough to like hang with like it's just like we have to go like all these sidetracks. Like this guy probably got it passed out 3 times before
yeah,
he came to us, you know. So, but it was like crazy. It was like an experience, and like I think it was a lot of bonding that we did during that time too. Because I and maybe I'm like this is more than an introduction. I'm just like talking about
no,
my
definitely go ahead.
experience. Um, but it was a bonding experience, and like I think we both, and you can disagree with me at that, like I think we grew up in a very big drinking culture, you know, drinking was the main thing to do, like going out and stuff like that. And I think like I was not the most secure young man, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it was just like I'm not like a bombastic person, so weed was like, oh my God, I can listen to music, like I'm mellow, I have beautiful thoughts, like all this stuff, you know, and
Yeah, I
I
think
feel much more function.
how I experienced that first years was like there was a heavy drinking culture, like not heavy, but just a drinking culture in general for young people, I would say. But there was also a time that everybody was smoking and a time that nobody was smoking. It was like periodically a bit, you know, like first everybody was drinking and then they discovered weeds through us, with us, I don't care, like, and then people started flocking
Other
in.
through us.
And then people started flocking in, and then all of a sudden people got to the worst side of weed, I would say, or the abusive side. And then it was like, oh no, this ain't for me. And then they, yeah, flocked out, I would say. I don't know what the word there for is. But then everybody was like, oh, I'm not smoking anymore. I still remember one moment that I think I was the only smoker. Even you stopped for a little bit. It was not a long period,
Yeah.
but there was like a time where I think I was like the solo smoker, maybe with
Oh,
you.
100%.
Um,
Like I think like yeah, like because like the times that I really stopped smoking was usually during exams and stuff. Like I was
yeah,
very much like that. Like I think like even when we're talking saying like consistent smoking, like we were not daily smokers at that point in time, like in high school. Like I was not a
definitely
daily
not,
smoker.
definitely not.
You know,
Uh,
that was a weekend thing. Like, but like I think I always felt that I think we did the same amount of weed that usually people did with drinking during the weekends. Like we would just like, but I think that's also the problem with weed. It actually is much more accessible after you get like a solid plug at a certain point. And I went to the Netherlands then, and I wanted to stop smoking, of course. But what, week two, I had a joint in my mouth, and that definitely carried over. And I think like there, I started smoking more. But again, this was not a daily thing. Like I didn't have a job. I didn't have a lot of revenue. So like I
yeah,
always think that I was like I don't I don't recall it that well, but I don't think I was like super heavy. There were like at certain times that I would start smoking more and more, and that became more evident during my boarding school because you don't have parents around you. You like I still remember coming to Leuven. This was your first year in Leuven too. It was like
a
that
great year.
yeah, that cuts on the hill. You know, like you were starting pharmaceuticals, right? Or was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
not? Yeah, yeah,
Pharmaceuticals.
yeah. Like
Was a,
yeah,
by the way, it was
you
a
were like
terrible
that
year
cut
for
on
me.
the yeah.
I was just
Yeah,
joking.
yeah, no, no. But I was just like, we were sitting there in your thing, and like I came with a train. I still remember, like I felt so adult then, you know, like and um, you guys would then come also to Maastricht sometimes, and we would just have like these little weed tours that we did throughout the city, you know, with Roan, Jeroen, like you know, like it was like kind of crazy. Like we
Sometimes
did a
sleepovers when we missed the
Yes, like
train.
when you missed the train because we were too high, you know, like shit like that. That was so funny. Like you just missed that train, like you saw it driving away.
Let me get this coke first, and then
Yeah, exactly. I really need it, bro. This is gonna be so worth it. Oh shit! Yeah, I guess you can stay with us.
But I must clarify or like say a bit of my story or my perspective here. I think we did at some point smoke more than just in the weekends because I also remember after training that we smoked and then we bicycled together to home and stuff. So I would
Mhm.
say like maybe 3 or 4 times a week was my guess about how much we smoked in the last years of high
Yeah,
school.
exactly. But it was always after school. Like it was never
Yeah,
like
of
I never
course.
got up. Like I
For
never
you,
went
of
high
course.
to
For
class.
me, it was a bit. Yeah, I think in my last year, I was smoking in the midday some days. There was like this certain day that we had allo in the voormiddag. Wait, what's voormiddag in English? Before noon
In
that we had
the
gym
morning.
before in the morning, and then we would smoke on the way back, and then we had chemistry in the afternoon or something. And that guy was totally nuts. So we were always high in the class,
Oh
just
yeah, shit.
making a bit of fun with the
I
guy.
still, oh yeah, but I'm just like also wondering how did I like hide my weed? Well, I clearly got caught when I was like 15 or something with when you and Gautier came. to my house and I threw up all over my
Yeah,
hallway. We were walking Georgia at that
I
point,
think
and
it
we
was
made that.
difficult to hide that one.
And that was so difficult to hide. But like, I'm just like thinking, like, I definitely never had like a 5 grams of weed or something. Like, I don't think like did we ever have 50 gram like 5 grams? Like, I don't remember.
Back
Maybe
in
I
those
like I was.
days, I don't think so. Like usually we got 2 grams or something, I think.
And I think like we were like good. Like yeah, I think we had. It's so crazy to think how. Um, yeah, I that time for me is not a lot of recollection of how much I was smoking. I really understood my habit was forming during my boarding school days because I was just like it was such a relief to me, marijuana. Like it was such a yeah, I
There
don't
are
know,
no
like it was a
worries in
crazy drug.
life.
There are no worries in life, but there are like certain things. But it's just like yeah, like if you as long as you get that consistency. But it was like a very beautiful time, Like I
It felt
yeah.
innocent back then, I think, for me at
Oh
least.
oh yeah. Oh
The
100%
realization of
like
abusement only came years later, and maybe to start off this topic, I want to. When do you think we start using this or abuse marijuana to mask the fear of failure? Like maybe we can first explain what fear of failure for each other means, and then we can think of the moment when we think it started masking that fear. What do you think?
sure, I like that. You want to
Because I
start
like I
or
like to recollect the memories, and we can go way back. But kind of I don't know if it's a sad thing, but the kind of the thing I want to say that most of my recollections are from smoking occasions or something. If I think back at basketball, I don't really remember the good team moments or something. It was always like, oh, we were sitting under the roof next to the sport hall and we were smoking a joint before going in, and like yeah, for
mm,
me those moments
I
stuck harder with me, I would say.
I think but they were also like not uh they were they inherently were more unique moments because like yeah we were smoking after training but that was not always a consistency and I think like because like you say like that's what you remember but I also remember I before I even started smoking weed, like basketball was a very much of a cathartic occasion for us. Like we released a lot of the worries and stuff like that we had throughout the weeks, and we were not an intense team, but we were very open about the stuff that we were going through. I think a lot of times, and I still remember like bike rides. We would like our training would end at 8 and I would come back at 9:30, and that was not because we were only smoking weed. Like we just had times where we would drive our bikes like very long ways, you know what I'm saying, and just like talk about love
That's
problems that
also
are
true.
happening, like stuff like you know what I'm saying. Like I think there was like a very it the weed things were like very particular because like it was if you try to recollect like all your weed moments in college, there's too many, like there's
Yeah,
no like
yeah.
there's like they can only be recollected when there was another setting that made it unique. Then you can like start forming something, and I think because our majority of our trainings were sober, the weed moments were uniquer. And I still remember like there's all these other things that went into play, like you like you were like scared to go home, you have to confront your parents, and like it was just like I think at that time and going off of that, like I think I was a pretty insecure human being at that time. I still have certain insecurities
Really?
that I carry over. Yeah,
Just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. But I was massively in love with this girl, and I felt like I was very negative towards who I was. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
and I think that's why weed really connected for me because it was a way of like not dealing with that, and it was just like it was so beautiful because like beginning weed, you're laughing, you're listening to music like you've never listened to music before. Nobody can take that away from me. Like any drug, usually in life, they open stuff that you can't experience in the sober state. And I'm not saying like a lot of the
Can or can't? Sorry,
it can't. Like the sober state is a sober state. Like you can experience stuff when you're sober that you can't experience when you're high. You know, there's like a balance check. And I always felt like with weed, like my taste of music got formed, and like it was great. Like, and I'll get to that. What like happened last night too. It's just like you hear things differently, like the bass of the drum, you like listen to different things, like your food appetite, and it's just like a very loving a drug, you know. You're mellow. And I think like I started forming my identity because like when you're 14, 15, 16, like you don't know who you are, you know. So like you're like grabbing to all these stuff, like are you like the popular
yeah,
kid
you
that
think
smoked
you are
weed?
this guy because other people like know you for this
That
habit
perception
or
of
know
you.
you for these activities. Like, oh, you're the basketball dude. Yeah, I guess I'm the
Yeah,
basketball. I'm
yeah,
not a
yeah,
good
yeah,
basketer. Like,
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
knows in our team, I was definitely not of the best, in the highest top five or something. And I didn't care. Like, I was just happy being with the team. And that's, I think,
And
how we formed identities back then. Like, oh, okay, I'm a basketball dude. I smoke. I'm maybe a little bit smarter because I'm a year up, and that was my identity back then. Like, okay, I'm this guy.
yeah, exactly. There's nothing more like you can't even contemplate deeper things. But I think like that was the thing too with weed. Like I think I was also always like a very, I would say, in touch with my emotions, you know, like I think I gravitated away, like I would say I'm emotional, like yeah, but like I'm also very in touch with what I'm feeling. And I think I was pretty mature at a certain age of like understanding human beings. Like I can navigate rooms really well, usually, you know, like what ages and stuff like that. And I think at a like weed, I was also like another side of me was like a hyperactive kid, and everybody like I still remember parents thinking that I was a hyperactive kid, and like he's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
so like the weed also made me mellow and chill and like you know like but I was like so confused who I was, and I was never happy who I was, and like not always, you know, but like there was like a lot of that involved, and I think like there's where like weed really became a staple product, you know. I think it started shifting from
an experience
like
towards daily life.
like a dependency that I
Yeah,
was just
dependency
going
is a
after,
better
you
word.
know,
Yeah.
like yeah, because like you wanted consistency in your life, and like my life wasn't consistent, and I refuse to find consistency in harder things because like some people find consistency at doing well in school, and you know what I'm saying, like actually giving their all in a certain thing. Like it could also be basketball, it could be something, and like I didn't have that or the drive to do that at that point in life, and I was like a little bit rudderless, like a ship just like drifting along. And yeah, that weed formed, and I was like kind of happy that like I found it also probably there was like a cool factor about it too, you know,
Yeah,
like
definitely. I
weed
think
then
smoking
was
was a
like
cool factor, indeed, especially at that
yeah,
age.
like yeah, it's just like oh I can roll this joint, and like you know like ha 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 yeah, you know, like it was just like coming into parties like not caring that much. Like when you came sober into a party with like other teenagers, like you go to a sweet 16 of somebody, and it's just like I felt so uncomfortable every time, you know. But then like suddenly you do that on weed, and you're like I don't give a fuck, you know,
Yeah,
like I don't
like I'm
care, you
having
know,
my
like
own
I
party in my head already, and I'm just coming here to share it with you
and you
guys.
and you always have the excuse to why you were not acting like like normally or whatever. I'm high, you know, like it was a very
Yeah,
easy like you know like it was just like
that's a good point that we want that we can get a bit more deep into later. So let's maybe like we are fondly recollecting our memories about weed, and I think we can do this for hours and hours on end. But maybe we can start with what do you think is fear of failure, and why do we want to talk about it? Where did it come from, or do you want me to go first?
I can definitely share my thoughts, but like let me first hear yours because like, that would also be interesting. Like I can maybe
Okay, no,
react
definitely.
towards that.
Um, so I think the fear of failure is that today's society maybe before also, but I can only speak from my own experience, that we are not really motivated or driven to try and do new stuff. We are always like, follow this road, it will lead to success. Follow this formula and you will have a great life. Follow this education and you will have a good job. We're always presented with a pretty fixed, narrow path that we should follow in order to maintain or achieve a goal that we are supposed to want to have. So I think a lot of it stems from society from my perspective. I think a lot of the fears that we feel are from society, and not a lot of fears come from really within us. I think there are not a lot of fears that really originates from us. So in that sense, I think the fear of failure is actually being afraid to fail against other people. I don't think anybody really fears failing for themselves. I think people fear failing in the eyes of other people. That's why we don't like to take risks too often. That's why people don't like negative publicity or negative pictures about them. People are afraid of what other people think of them. No, it's just an example. And I think it all connects in the same thing. Like, we care too much about what other people think about us. We care too much about, especially the ones we don't even know. Like, people are that afraid of people we don't know. It's sometimes it's mind-boggling for me that I was also driven by this fear. But I think that sums it up for me. Like, we all have this fear to look bad in other people's eyes, which holds us back from achieving the things we would like to do. You could be an astronaut, as you say, when you're a child, but when you become 16, nobody is saying that shit anymore, you know? Nobody is saying, oh, I'm gonna be an astronaut in 6 years from now. If you want to be that guy, you're definitely not sharing that out loud, and you're just doing your thing in the hopes of you getting assigned to be an astronaut. And I think that's very is actually incapacitating, or it gives us all a disability. Like, we try to achieve the things we dreamt of, but we don't know which formula society allows to get there, and we're all like, I should wait until an opportunity comes, or I should first do these other things. I should first get an education before I should start my dream job. Like, this it's all a bit propaganda for me, I think, and that's how fear of failure has of where it originates from in my perspective. What do you think? It's a bit all over the place that I was talking, because I haven't really thought it through.
But I think like you're hitting a lot of good things there, and I definitely agree with your idea of a lot of our fear stems of not being adequate to society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you're not lining up
Conformed,
to you're conformed, which is interesting too. But there's, I think, also another side of failure, and that's within, because like, yes, like everything in life, because we're sociable animals, you know, like is like, it's a consistent factor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't. It's just always.
You cannot be
present.
asocial.
So like there's but there's also inherent root of failure within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's.
Explain a bit more. Yeah.
For example, when you fall in love with somebody, you know, that's nothing to do with how society. Maybe you could look at like the sociological. Why are you falling in love with this particular person or whatever? You know, but that in of itself is a unique experience that only you can have, you know. And why are we afraid sometimes to talk about these emotions, you know? Like, of course, like there's this idea of like, you know, like, oh, they're gonna deny me, or like how is society gonna view? But like, you're also like, you don't feel adequate enough, you know, like you give something up of yourself, some security. And I think like that's also tied to that fear of failure, because, and that's what I sent you the podcast for, because failure gives us a very accurate reflection of what we are, of who we are at any given moment of time. And like, if you're in love, or like if you're pursuing something and you don't succeed in that, that gives you like, well, I'm not that, I'm not adequate enough, you know, like, or like this is not what it is for me, and it's not something bad, but we do see it as bad, you know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't feel good. Failure doesn't feel good
Yeah, of
because it
course.
just makes you like, and I struggle with that myself. It's like, yeah, like it's true. We have a lot of societal pressures around us, and like I think the majority of our roots of failure are like in that capacity. That was like I was doing an internship in DC, you know, with all these 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
Inherently, it doesn't feel great, you know, because like it gets reminded, but then you just have to, yeah, when you can disassociate the self, like from, like I was thinking about this yesterday in the car when I was driving, and I was just you, like you're a vessel, you know what I'm saying? Like
mm-hmm.
Benji experienced, but like your consciousness perceives that experience, you know what I'm saying? And your consciousness is like, why do you care how Benji experience? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's like
Yeah,
there's this
it's
barrier between the.
it's the physical like form that we have, but we have also like thoughts that do not relate to our physical form and that are greater
Yeah, exactly.
than just being human, you know, like
Yeah,
why should
and that's
yeah.
yeah.
But I
But that's
want to
where your
pick
drive
on
is, you know.
I want to pick up I very much like your answer because it's more it has two sides to it. First you say the societal pressure like I was talking before, but you also said that you felt inadequate to yourself. And it's like a fear that you um, think that you're not inadequate for yourself to be loved, or how do you see that?
Yeah, it's just like this, like you. Again, this is all based upon perception of other people, but like you want to achieve certain things in your life, you know, like, and that can be through society, but like everybody wants whatever it is, success or something like that drives you. And that is very unique to every given person or like every
Yeah,
household that you grow up in. And that's the same thing with like, I have a certain personality, you know, and that personality has positive and negative traits. And like it also has like fears and like happy moment, like, you know, like it's all balanced in
you mean
between,
the
and that's going to be
shortcomings
unique
of
to
your
every.
personality that you feel
Yeah,
are
exactly.
inadequate to
Yeah,
handle certain situations or certain
100%. Like, I have this all the time with my work too. Like there's certain things like I am I'm very good at certain aspects of it, but like the other things are inherent fearful. Like I can't tell you why calling people on the phone sometimes is something without seeing their perception, like doing like the
yeah.
telecommunications, like also like it's it's
It's
something that still
difficult.
grips my
Yeah.
heart. It grips my heart. I don't understand it. There's nothing society didn't tell me like be fearful of that, you know, like it actually says the opposite, just do it, you know, sometimes. But I have there's always this thing of like, oh, I'm being judged, like I'm not going to be able to do it. And I'm not even caring about what my boss thinks. I'm thinking of like like how can I be
So you're
smoother? And like you
judging
see like,
yourself then, or how do you
yeah,
how would you put that? And
yeah, it's
against,
it's just.
is it then comparing against yourself? Like you say, hey, I'm actually better than this because I can make these calls. It's not that hard. I call like literally everybody every day, like you. So how do you feel that, or is that something that's like a bar from colleagues or something like, oh, they can do these phone calls, but I can't.
Yeah, no, I think like that's also like you see somebody doing it really well, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, like I know I can do better. You know, it's it's with doing a thesis or anything in life, right? The first weeks are the most excruciating weeks, and the last weeks too. But like in the middle, it goes smoother, you know.
Yeah,
But it's that starting because you don't know if you're gonna succeed. You don't have a blueprint. You've never seen yourself doing a good phone call. You know, you don't have
yeah,
anything. That's a crazy, like the only measuring stick at that point is other people, and it's a horrible measuring stick. But also, it also is a good measuring stick at the same time because it can put you on a path to success. It's like what everybody says a little bit, like you never want to be the smartest person in a room, you know, and you don't want to be the most ambitious person in a room either, usually. You know, you want to be surrounded with people that have as much ambition and as much drive and are smarter than you, because like that's environments that you learn in. And that's what I'm getting at. Like that's where this job opportunity and like all my failures in life have been navigating towards, is that understanding that you have to fail. You have to
Yeah.
fail. Like there's no question about it. Like if you're not willing to do that, you're not going to grow. Like it, you could be maybe magnificent, but you have to hit walls sometimes. You have to recalibrate. Like you have to think like, oh, I can make this phone call a little better. Like, and the failure doesn't have to be a downright failure. Like failure is such a big word, because like it almost puts a 1-0 formula towards it,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
understand
like
that.
it's
Yeah.
1-0, 1-0, like, but it's like I can make a phone call. It could be a successful phone call. I could get a contract, but I could understand like, well, I didn't approach that in the right way, so it was not a complete success. You know, there were fractional failures. You know,
Yeah. No,
which
definitely.
like, and we could actually like, it's crazy because we talk about failure, but again, it's just we could like easily switch out the word in learning moment every time. You know what I'm saying? Like, how
Yeah.
many learning moments had you had this year? Which is so crazy because like that's how people also approach you. It's like, how much are you earning? You know, like blah blah blah. They never like ask you like, oh, what did you learn in your job? Like, what are the like qualities of it? People don't often go into depth in those conversations. Not okay, like it's also casual conversation, but it's not something that interests people that much. You know,
It's
like
not
what's
something
the
they
hardest part?
can relate to, I think, because
Yeah.
usually they have not mastered those skills or got the same experiences as you have. But I think what's interesting that you hit here is that um, maybe initially it starts up from something like societal pressure, like you say. It gives you a good play field of where you can hit the ball and how far you can hit it, and you have to like first hit it first one time before you know where you can hit it. Um, but I think afterwards, like you said, can also become a partially something inherent in yourself. Like you put your own bar there, and you're like, if I don't hit it above this bar, then I'm failing for today. Like I am fucking worthless this day. And I think that yeah,
So true.
and I think
No, it's true.
that's how it maybe grows a bit. Like first we are looking at others, like, hey, these guys are doing this, this, and this. It's way better than what I'm doing. Let me try that thing, and then you hit it once, and you're like, damn, I have not reached their level yet. This is where my bar is, and then at some point you're like, okay, I should increase the bar each time, or otherwise I might be failing. Like I want to hit it as far as the other guy can hit it, and I think there is where I would say the fear stems from. Maybe failure is something you can like endure once or something, but if you like fail over and over, you're becoming fearful of trying again, because you're like, I'm not good enough to ever hit the ball as far as this other guy can hit it. And I think maybe
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something that I wanted to highlight in your speech, because I think you were going in that direction a bit.
yeah. And but it's also like I think it's true that I think we usually have the conversation like you might try it 2 or 3 times, you know, and we have the conversation like if I keep on doing this, like I'm never gonna succeed. And I think like that's also problematic a lot of times because like and there's also where weed plays a major role in like later on. It's just like being okay with the norm, you know, that you set for yourself. Like I tried it. Like you are too easily. We in the 21st century and where we're living in, and all the fucking apps that we have on our phones and stuff like that. We are used to instant gratification. You know, we are not used to like actually failing, getting back up, trying again, trying again, trying again, trying again. Because no matter what, like that process of trying again and doing it over and over builds character. It builds consistency. Like you could literally have messed up that whole fucking business, you know, like, but
Yeah.
that drive is something that is transferable, and that's like seeking out like a new thing. And I think like that's something like I struggle with a lot, you know, like, and you're right. Like and also what I was speaking to, like it's a lot of self pressure, but as we get older, I think we don't see either, like not everything becomes that black and white. Like we become more balanced, but we also become less open to seek new experiences that where we might fail at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
it's like
that's
a double-edged sword. Like we care less about maybe the overall things we achieve, but we also don't take as much risks anymore.
yeah,
So
exactly. So like it's just like just when you start understanding how important failure like or like even how not important like these failures are in a bigger sense, you know, that they're not defining of you as a
yeah, I
bigger
think
person, you
that's
know.
the difficult part, and that's because we have like measuring sticks all around us. Like you open your phone, you have like 10 measuring sticks about how ugly you're looking or how small you are, and then you go outside and you have 10 more measuring sticks about how yeah, bracket car you have compared to other
Yeah.
people, and then you come at work and then you have another 10 measuring sticks for how little you're earning against other people. Like you have measuring sticks everywhere, and I think we all like to be the best at everything around us. Like we want to show them like, hey, look, I got that Lambo, I got that good life, I got that Insta following base, I got the swimming model, I got it all, you know. That's what everybody
Yeah.
wants to say. And yeah, obviously that's not a healthy mentality, I think. And
No,
I do find it interesting if people from an older generation thought it this way, like the fear of failure, because I believe, like I like to believe that it's more natural for them, that they're like, okay, failing is just part of it, you know. If you're not failing, you're not doing anything. And I believe that they had a different, like, how can you say it, like societal idea of what success looks like. Now for us success is, look, this dude is 16 and he has a Lambo and he's crypto mining, whatever. And maybe success back in the day was like, look, this guy is working 20 years to make the perfect sword and he finally made it, you know. I think
mm,
that's
yeah, 100% true. But I think like also like uh we were like, if you go to your grandparents' age or even like your parents, but it starts like dissipating a little bit the conventional standards of how we understand success or like even going about life, because like the roles that people had were much more defined at that point, you know. Like forget about like gay marriage or anything. Like you as a man are going to be the provider, you're going to get a job, and you're going to like, you know, like you had set
yeah,
roles and you're not going to deviate from that. And that gives people comfort because it actually lessens the possibility of failure, if I'm like you understand what I'm saying, because like
yeah,
like you limit the options that a human being has. So like there's like set pathways to follow. Like right now it's incredibly diverse. Like when you get married, when you have children, like what job you go into, what types of fields,
what gender
like
you want to
the job.
have.
Yeah, no, all these things. Yeah, these are crazy things. Like it's beautiful at the same time, but it's like it, it leaves so much more of, it's so unknown, you know. We don't have a set idea of what's right or what's wrong, whereas it used to be much more like that. Like these, like if you go outside of this, you're being bad. If you're doing this, you're being good. And like now it's like, what is good, what is bad? We have certain ideas, but it's hard to put in. Like you have to understand too, like back in those days, like the majority of people were religious, you know, like there was like a very cohesive bond that
Yeah, it
people
was
had
very
there.
black and white back in the day. Like this is good, this is
Yeah,
bad. You should do
exactly.
this, and this is not for you. And I think
And even if
nowadays
you,
there are a lot more options for us, and we have to make more choices ourselves. And I think this is where this is where fear stems from for humans, like having to make choices. People sometimes I believe like people don't like to make choices. People just want a pre-packaged dish for or meal for them. They don't want to think about what to put in the meal. People just want kant en klaar in your lab for yourself, you know, like, oh, you're gonna be a doctor, just do this and this and this and you'll have a good life. People want to believe in that shit, I think. That's how I
Yeah, it's
feel.
actually it's very interesting what you're saying, because I'll send you another podcast on this, because it's the same guy from Philosophize This. But there was this idea. I think it's like the Frankfurt School of Thought. It's like all these philosophers, and the predominantly Jewish philosophers, like in the 1930s and 40s, you know, who like saw everything happening in Germany, and like Hannah Arendt and stuff like that. Like there was this one guy, and he was talking about the idea, and this is exactly what you're hitting on. We as human beings, like we used to be much more part of like groups, you know, like first we had like nature, and then we would just like be scavenger hunters, you know what I'm saying? And then we would look at something, and then we went into
Yeah, we were
agriculture.
chimps. You should, by the way, you should watch Chimps Empire. I think it's a Netflix docu you really like. I think what you're hitting on, that we all had predefined roles and expectations of what we're gonna do in life, and when you're like an animal, it's not much thinking about what you do. You just do what you do. And I think
No, exactly.
this shift has been in humans lately, that we are way more conscious of what we do and how we want to do it.
Yeah.
And that brings a
And
lot
I
of
think
fears.
yeah, because like we used to like that. He was getting at it like a certain sense. So you have a religion that unifies you together, because like if the harvest fails, that's because God is against you, you know.
Yeah.
But then we start shifting, and like everything is becoming more onto the individual, you know. Like even like religion, like in Christianity, you have Protestantism or whatever.
Yeah, I get
I can't even pronounce it. Yeah, like, but like that became about the individual. So your relationship with God was you, and unique to you. Capitalism is like how you succeed, you know. And even then, atheism is then taking God away, and democracy is giving choice. So he was saying that like in the 1930s and 40s, like people were the most like we have become the most loneliest people to ever exist, because we have so much focus is put on the individual and you making the choices. And the reason why I mentioned this is because like he made this hypothesis too. Like the question was like, how did we go into fascism or like socialism? You know, like because people didn't, like what you say, want to make the choices. Like I don't want to make these choices anymore. I want to feel part of a group, and I want to know that this is right and this is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because like when human beings become for too many people, that's so overwhelming. And I think for us too, at certain points, it's overwhelming. But if you get through it, it's a really nice thing. But it's also a sad part of it too. But like most people don't want it, and most people don't want to think, and that's okay. Like that's how we are programmed as monkeys, you know.
All right, that's very good. I'm very truthful what you're saying, and please send me those podcasts if you want.
No, 100%.
So I think, just to sum it up, what we said here, like these fears all stem from what we have to choose as individuals and what we want to achieve in life, and there is so much societal pressure nowadays that the individual should do the best they can and should get the most out of their life and should live the fullest life, that we're all afraid of making wrong choices. We're all afraid, like, oh, like we were talking before, like you asked me and probably a lot of other people, like, hey, should I take this job or not? It feels risky, maybe too risky for me, and you never know. Like for the same I don't know the expression in English, but for hetzelfde geld, you lose a year of your life, and then you're like, hey, did I make the wrong choice there or not? And we're all that fearful of making wrong choices. We always, like, I don't want to say we always, but I believe a lot of people like to live or live in the past. Like they're always rethinking about their decisions and rethinking about where it could have gone differently for them. Just like my mother asked me a few weeks ago, like, do you think that there was a right choice for me or for us to let you skip a year? And I was like, I don't care about whether I skipped it or not. I skipped it, and now I am here. So thinking about the decision, if it was the right one, it is pretty weird for me. Like, I don't know how different my life would be if I haven't skipped, or how better it would be. Like, we cannot know these answers to these questions, and I believe a lot of people get stuck on trying to think of where their life went wrong, or what decision they should have made differently. So yeah, I think that's the pretty much how I see fears nowadays.
Yeah, that's actually really good what you're pointing out, because I had a conversation just with my friend, another friend this week, and we're very much in a similar boat, you know, like I'm 26, I don't have like the best job yet, you know, not a lot of income, like all my friends are settling in. Some people have like mortgages already that they're paying, you know, they have houses, like stuff like that. It's crazy, you know? But you're hitting something very truthful on the context of like just saying that looking back at past events that have transpired, like I think it's a very, I'm not saying toxic, but I would almost attach that word to it, because it's just like it's pointless.
It's pointless. It's a
only-
better word, I think.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, because like you could understand, like he was also like saying, and I have this too sometimes, it's like how would my brain development would have been like without
Yeah.
weed, you know, like stuff like
I
that.
think
Like,
that
like
too.
these are like big, yeah, like this is like very different things, because like I used to be very good at memorizing certain things, you know, like I'm not saying, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not saying there's destiny or anything, you know, because like you have choices as a human being, but like all my choices up to me starting to smoke weed consistently led to that point, you know, like there was not another path that I was going to go on. Like this was me, and this is how I went about in this like universe, and we only have one life in this sense, you know, like
Yeah.
so like there's no point, like there's like literally no point of like thinking like if I did X, Y, and Z would have been the perfect version of myself. But what is the perfect version of yourself?
Yeah.
You know, like would I be happier? Would I actually end up divorced at 35? Like there's all these other factors that, like there's an infinite amount of Benjis and Maxes that could have happened, like
That
occurred,
exist.
you know?
I
it-
believe in multiverse,
yeah.
so they exist somewhere.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there is a sober
You-
Benji
like,
somewhere in this universe.
Yeah, there's a Benji that went to play field hockey instead of basketball.
Yeah.
You know, like there's all these, but there's all these different variations, and like it's honestly the one thing that there's no point. I always say there's no point in regretting something that has transpired, and it comes back to your narrative, because like the only thing that you have to do is learn and grow from that. If you don't
Yeah.
want that to happen again, then you have to
Exactly.
switch
Yeah.
your habits. Like you have to be reactive. Like you said, I can't go. Sorry, I just got.
No worries. I'm gonna quickly shout out Mats. Stay in the gym. You're doing good.
Okay.
Yeah, he said in the chat he's following from the gym.
Okay.
What I wanted to add to this, or an analogy I gave Zoe a few podcasts back, how I see the world in that sense, is that you have like a dry waterfall, and at the top you start pouring water, and you can basically choose where the water will flow and stuff, but you know at the end it will always come together at the basin, and that's just how it is. Like every decision you make will lead to the same outcome in some sense, I think. Like you think you have more control over your life than you really do, and if you're gravitating towards weed, if you're not smoking at 16, you might hit it on 22 or 26. I don't know. Like if there is something that pulls you towards that, you will eventually do it, I think. And that's just how I believe, or how I see life. We like to have the idea that we have a lot of choices, and we do. But I think the overall picture, the overall direction we're going is pretty much set in stone already. Like it's hard to say that set in stone, but it's already predefined a bit, you know? There are like margins where it can differ, but you're going in that direction anyway.
Which is death. No.
Yeah, eventually for everybody it's the end of the basin, but
it's the great equalizer, but no, Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent too, but at the same time, I was just like thinking, and I wanted to like switch the conversation a little bit because, like, again, we would like see certain actions that we've done in our lives as inherent failures, right? But there is wisdom attached to that too, and I think, for example, if I had a habit that's not the best, for example, in my opinion, still up until this day, like the amount of weed that I'm smoking was not something that I would promote at any given time, you know? So, like, I think I never had the ability to have a conversation with my parents about this, or like there was no bigger Max that could say like a 26-year-old Max, like, yo, dude, like, watch out with that. Like, it's okay to smoke weed once in a while, but like, make sure that it doesn't become a crutch. Like, there was nobody around us telling us. The only people around us were saying like, oh, it's illegal, you know, you're like gonna get arrested. Like, you know, like there was nothing. There's no conversation about like, why are you actually doing this? Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, if my kid, for example, would show certain habits or stuff like that, I think I like something that I would have like not recommended anymore, like I want to change, like I could give that wisdom to my children or like anybody else in life, you know what I'm saying? And that's not an inherent negative thing then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not everything that you do bad is negative, you
But
know,
is
like
it
you
then
can
not
transform it.
shaping their waterfall a bit in that sense? Like you're predefining their.
Of course,
And
of
I
course, but I
think
think
what you're hitting on is maybe something I have not said too much already about. But I think, like I said, we have less of an freedom on or control over ourselves. But I think what you're hitting on is that we have more control over the environment or ability to shape the environment that we think we have. Just like
yeah,
this podcast, it might sound stupid, but it's actually changing the environment around me just by having conversations with different people. And I see that more and more, like the amount of impact I have on myself is very limited on what I want to achieve, what I want to reach in life. But the impact I can have on others is way higher than I expected before. And I think
no,
that's
exactly.
maybe a bit the direction you wanted to go. I don't know if that was that.
No, exactly. It's exactly what you're tapping on, and it's just like what I'm saying in the context with, if you're in a house surrounded by all stoners, you know, like you're gonna be limited. You know, like you put yourself in
Yeah.
certain environments that like like debilitated. Like, well, I'm not saying like it's growth in a certain sense, but you choose effective pathways that can limit the waterfall,
Yeah,
the
the possible
access to
outcomes. Yeah,
opportunity. Yeah, because like I don't agree with people who say that. Yeah, I think if you grow up in a middle or upper middle class lifestyle, you're probably going to end up middle or upper class. There's a high probability in that, you know. Are you going to become a billionaire? Probably not, you know. Both of us, we can just talk, but like that's not inherently like the direction that our life is going to
yeah,
go. But on the other hand, I have learned this throughout my job, and that's what I tell my friends all the time. It's just like you have to pursue opportunities. They don't come to you. Like, you can't, it's the same thing. Like, if you're not super satisfied in the job that you do, go on LinkedIn, go everywhere, like start networking, have conversations, have informational interviews, like sell yourself in different environments, like talk to your bosses, ask if you can have coffee with your boss, you know, like this opportunity that I have here was because I put a lot of effort into
yeah. I
my
can
five
relate.
months in my
I can
internship here.
how do you say it? Atone to that or justify. Like I can justify that claim. Like
Like,
you put in a lot of effort to get to where you are now, and it was initially not the place or the goal you envisioned because you were putting a lot of effort into getting into a prestigious lobbying firm, I think. But you got there this opportunity by trying to achieve the other thing, you know, like by actively pursuing different opportunities, you found one that was actually interesting to you. So
no, exactly. And like, yeah, exactly. And for example, it was communications in that sense. And I didn't want to do communications, but I knew that you have to put that effort into it. And I wanted to go on the hill, and you just have to like navigate them. Like, if it's a continuous working, like a habit. Again, you're creating a habit to success, and that habit has to be fed, it has to be nurtured, and it has to be consistent. And if you don't do these things, then you can have a nice life. And I don't think that's for everybody, you know. But like uh, I want to try to reach the limits of what Max can do, you know. And the limits of what Max can do can only be achieved by diving into something that you don't understand and you don't want. Like we give
No, I
so
get
much
yeah.
in life. Yeah. And, like I was having like this conversation with, I don't know, like I think I told you too. Like it was just like having this conversation with this truck driver. Like all knowledge that you have was passed down to you by other people. Yeah, you have your own thoughts, but you're built.
Yeah,
You're
it's an
basically
idea I believe in more and more. Like I think I also told it to you. It's part of the reason I'm becoming quote unquote more religious. Like I see the value in past experiences and past knowledge that is carried on even through our genes. And I see that more and more that every action I take is like an already shaped by a lot of generations back then. That's what I mean. Like my river is pretty much carved out already how it's gonna run, or my waterfall. But I can still have an impact on how other people's waterfall or river might change a bit into a different direction. And I think this is how I see it now. I don't know if it's true because I'm also like only 27 or whatever. 27? Yeah, probably. Um,
still.
yeah, Max is still 26. He's a yonkie. He's fresh meat for the girls, you know? All them ladies look...
Like
All, all the two full viewers, you know where to hit him, you know? Max is on the market. No. But jokes aside, I think it's very true what you say. Like, I am definitely not one that actively pursues too many opportunities. And I think that's also part of why I don't know how to say this, but like I feel like I'm drifting on my own path a bit. It's not that I'm making wrong choices, but I'm not going the full lengths of what I can or will want to do maybe. But I feel like I can have more opportunities when I would reach out more, I think.
You know, exactly. And that was what I was saying. Like, nobody, okay, there's certain people in life, and you probably encountered them too, that can give 100% of themselves all the time, you know, like kudos on them, you know, whatever. But as long as I think you give 70% or 60% towards a certain goal, and I don't know what that goal is, you know, like, but like I feel like you are creating something, you have shift dramatically towards like going into this podcasting realm, or like, you know, like even like thinking about your habits with weed. Like when you get comfortable with yourself and you're like okay with who you are, then growth stops. But like then your waterfall is defined. But until that time, there's like still so many variations and probabilities that you're creating with like Mats is in the that's called in the gym right now, you know. He's creating a habit that's consistent, that can translate to other things, you know, because
Definitely.
like what you need is like it's that understanding that you can do something, you know, and that you can continuously work on something. And that's what I was saying, like not being the smartest person in the room and not being the most ambitious person in the room. You always want those people around you. Like it is incredibly hard because like you have to be able to put your ego on the side, you know, because it doesn't feel good to be sometimes maybe the dumbest person in the room or the person who doesn't have
Yeah.
the most vision. It's not a good thing, but just knowing that okay, like these people around me, they're pushing me, they have this drive, and they do this on a consistent basis, and they got to where they are. Okay, if I put in that effort, maybe I won't reach that, but I could reach something completely different than them. You know what I'm saying? Like that fits my needs. But like what I've just known is that you have to
Have to seek out
like
opportunity. I think that's
you
the...
have to see nothing comes to you. Nothing, and that's where it also comes. You have to seek out failure. Like people are allowed, like, oh, I have a consistent job, like I'm earning enough money, like, ah, like why should I, like I have all these benefits, like okay, if that's really your goal in life, that's not bad. But if you ever have that question or that desire waking up sometimes in the morning is like, is this what I want to pursue? Then fucking go on your computer and start looking at shit that like interests you. Find somebody who works in that industry. Hit them up on LinkedIn. It might take 3 weeks before that person hits you back up, you know? But make sure that you do it because you've done that. You've set that barrier. That's one connection, you know? That's the one thing that I will never, like, we live in the most open world that's ever
the most
existed. Like, even in
connected.
Europe,
Yeah.
like, you could live in like the European Union is 28 countries. You could live in 28 countries without a problem and find a job. So your job market is enormously large. Or like any opportunity, it's massive, which is also very. Again, we're speaking about like you as a human being. Too much choice is a lot of.
Yeah, I wanted to hit that. I think that's opportunity presentance of our many opportunities also comes back to the fear of failure. Like we have so much choices, so much things we can try. What do I want to try? And then it becomes again a question of what do I want? What do the vessel bench wants, or what do the mind bench wants?
Yeah,
and that's I think where a lot of people struggle, even myself. I definitely have not had the hardest life, but also not the easiest life. So I'm just a casual guy with problems. But I encounter this a lot of times. Like you see opportunities, you're fearful of them because you have like you said, I have a pretty good life. I have nothing to worry about. I have everything covered. I can even gamble a lot of money, feel bad about it, and still go on with my life. Like, there is not a lot of things that are like telling me like, hey, you should drastically switch your life. But I think, just like with this podcast, it's not about what you can, it's what you want. Like, I want to do podcasts. Hallo?
Hallo?
Oh. Zijn je weggevallen?
Hallo. Ben je?
Hallo?
Hallo.
Ja, ik ben hier nog.
Hallo.
Ik hoor u. I hear you.
Hallo?
I hear you. I hear you.
Hallo?
Hello?
Yeah, I think it was you because my connection is pretty solid here.
Ah, okay. Sorry then. Where was I? Whatever. I think I don't know where I was. Whatever. I think, yeah, like you said, we have a lot of opportunities, but people are fearful of making them. So maybe if you have anything to add to that, maybe we can delve into the link with marijuana, or you want to add something first?
Well, I'm just like thinking in the context of everything that we pursue in life is just I think we form our thoughts and who we are and what we don't like by seeking these opportunities. And I think when we have so much in front of us that we could try and we're like, oh, I might not like this. Yeah, you might not like this. That's like an inherent probability of everything that you try in life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can feel, oh, I'll work a year, I don't know. But yeah, that's true. It's true. But how will you not know that you don't like this without trying it? And that's like something that I encountered. Like, I love this woman, DC, you know, she works at the White House right now. And she just told me, like, it's just like putting your, like at a certain point, when she made that transition to work at the White House from the Senate office, like she made two boxes, working in the public and private sector, right? And she needed certain requirements to be accomplished before she made that transition. And you cannot make those requirements before you try these different avenues and these different pathways, you know? You're in your 20s. Try definitely one other job, you know? Like in the same field, but just try it. First of all, it adds to your your resume of somebody who's like, you went into a different field a little bit, you know, like you dipped your toes. You put yourself in a different organization and you showed yourself successful within that organization, you know? If you can prove that, you become a hotter commodity. and then you open up your world, you find new people, because like the people that you meet in another place, if you leave a good impression, they're not going to forget you, you know. And only if you're a dickhead and douchebag, or you don't know how to do the job, which is also fine. If you don't know how to do the job, a lot of people, as long as you try your best, they're still going to want
Yeah,
to help you, you know.
they're still good
But
people.
yeah, no, again, but I think this is not a preaching session, because like this is a little bit like how I talk to myself in the mirror, and that's like
No,
how
I
I
think
make the
yeah, I think
decisions. But
that's
like
whoa. I just saw a hawk here. Damn. Um, I think what I want to add to that is maybe an analogy that makes it easier to comprehend for us all. Um, I believe that we are like sea snails, you know, like we have a nice house, we're living comfy in our little shell, and at one day we might see a bigger shell or another shell, and we're like, is that something for me? And a lot of us are very comfortable in their shell already, like, oh, I've got it pretty good here. Why should I change shells? Like, there's no reason for me to take up that bigger one or try to go out in the unknown, without a shell and crawl into the other shell. And I believe many of us are too afraid to try different shells. We're all like, okay, I got this shell. It's big enough for me. It suits me, and that's all I want to know in life. And I think that's perfectly fine. I was talking about this with Nico another day. Like if you're like you said, like if you're actually comfortable and you feel like you're achieving the things you want to achieve with your job, perfectly. You know, like you don't have to be more than a wood chopper if all you want to do is chop wood. You know, like you don't have to feel bad about it. But I think a lot of us question a lot of things in our especially in our professional life. Like, am I putting in hours to a project I'm really behind that I can find myself interested in, or is it just money that I'm earning to live my life? And I believe for a lot of people it's the latter one, that we are just making money to live life, and when we make the money we are almost too tired to spend it. Like we just want to sit at home and be like, ah yeah, I worked all day, so now I'm watching TV all night. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to add to your it's
no,
not
exactly.
preaching,
It's
by the
just
way, that you're doing. You just have a very stern conviction, and that's good, I think. That's not something that comes over preachy for me.
no, and I like it's true what you're saying. Like we do, and I think like you have to find that balance of like understanding where you're like satisfied, because like there is like the problem in the age that we're living in, what it means to be a man, or like what it means to be successful. And it's just like we have to understand that success is very much formed in the capitalist world. And I'm not saying it's inherently bad. I love capitalism, I like money, but that's how we deem success a lot of times.
Yeah,
And
it's
if we
true.
don't accomplish that, and I told you this too, like I think like this is something that reflects upon me too. Like I want to earn enough money to show the world sometimes that I have made it, you know. And
Yeah,
after that, I could do
yeah,
whatever the fuck that I want, you know. I could like invent a new type of carrot and make millions. Like I don't care about carrots, but like you know, like you know what I'm saying. It's just like
yeah.
I want that feeling of accomplishment, but at the same time, that is it's a very empty pursuit a lot of
Yeah,
times. And I'm not saying
I did not want to say it, but I believe like once, like I cannot speak for sure, but I believe like the accomplishment you feel throughout your professional life will be more satisfactory than actually achieving the amount of money, the X amount of money that you envision to achieve. But I
oh,
believe I
100%.
100% agree with the purpose or the goal that you have. Like,
Yeah,
I have the same thing. I want to have enough money to buy a forest so I can say, everybody, look, I have my own forest with fucking
yeah.
nature and life, and you cannot take it away from me. And that's such trivial goals are maybe a good indication of what we care about in life. You care about how people interpret you and how they see that you made it in life. I care about a forest or something. Like, we all have our things we care about, and I think that goal that we set up is a very good reflection of what we care about. So
No, and exactly. And I think like what I'm saying is like that money thing is like one of my like it's definitely a driving force behind me. But I've also said like I'm like you, like I told Boris this too. Like I want to have like I want to be able to like be at a position where we could have like, you know, like all of our friends just like have this
Yeah.
huge property together. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like I don't want money for the fact of money. It's more of like the comfort of like being able to like enjoy things with the people I love and care about. You know, like I don't want people to have to worry. I just like, you know, just like,
But to
and
to
and
to
it's true.
to pick up on that point, don't you think we can already have those experiences now? Or what is different for
Yeah.
you? You want to have like
For
money that you can say like let's go on a yacht, and you want
no. I want to have money to like be like, I don't like. I can't have these experiences right now. Like I don't like. I have like $4,000 or something saved in my bank. I have nothing, you know. Like, and I've been working for X amount of time, and it's not. I'm very careful with what I'm spending, but this is just like the life that I have right now, and I I hate being the one at parties, like, and that's just like because like I started later, but like I can't give people a lunch up, like you know,
yeah, I
like
have the
around
same
at the
yeah.
bar, like I can't do these things, and it's not because I don't want to do them and I'm abhorrently against it. It's just like I don't have the money. Like, why would I like not be able to buy my groceries for the next week because I like spent my money in a certain avenue on one day? Yeah, it just doesn't make logical sense, and that's where like economic freedom is important. You know, that you can have a house that's yours, that you can have a car, and they. I want to go to South Africa this year. I don't have to go to South Africa like 10 times a year, but like one time a year, and I don't have to worry about like the statements
Yeah, I
on my
feel
bank
that.
account. It's like, can I actually afford doing this? Like, that's not a life that I want to live. I want to be free of worry. And like now, every time it's still look at my bank account. How much did I spend this week? Blah, blah, blah. I hope I will remain diligent and looking at what I'm spending. You know, but just like that, I don't have to be like, oh shit, like, and now I have to eat this food for the next 2 weeks because like
I
you know,
have the
like that's
same, yeah.
crazy to me. Like it's just so stupid. Like, and that's something like I like if you have habits that put you in that situation, or if you just like in that position right now in life because of the job that you have, like try to navigate, like understand that there's like something better and bigger waiting. And then that's I don't have to have like the boss that I'm working for now, like he wants a lot of money, like for other purposes, but I'm more like I just want to first of all feel the sense of accomplishment of like that stoner guy, just like I think I'm still like trying to disassociate a lot from that uh, human being that I was, you know. Although like
I
I
think
think like
that's
you need
mostly in
to
your head
accomplish.
though, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, but like I'm just like I'm trying to like accomplish something, and I don't even know what I'm gonna try, but like I don't know what I want exactly, so like why not experience certain things? And it comes with a lot of tears, it comes with loneliness, it comes with like, you know, and I don't
Yeah.
know like inherently if this is the right path or the wrong path. It's just a path that I take, and it's a path that I hope that more people try, because like I meet amazing people, and I meet a lot of I've encountered so much in this world, like definitely in, for example, in the context of the US, like, and we'll get to that later because like I took that gummy yesterday, right? And I was at like this race ring, and it definitely white America, you know, like red, white, and blue, you know, like it was just like if you would have like a voting map, it was all Republican. I could like put money on that, one, you know, but I've seen that America. I've seen Black America. I've seen like, you know, everything in between. You know, like what I'm saying, like, and it was just like a crazy experience, just like being there, and like that's why I'm saying like being high can heighten certain things and can heighten your perception about like it can make you like it. You can disassociate the self. You know, which is really cool. It was like
That's
really
a
cool
good
if
that's a
you do
good
it in
way
the
of
right.
putting it, I think. Like you can take yourself out of the equation a bit and you're just like, hey, what is going on here? Do I like what's going on here? Do I feel
Yeah.
what can I talk about? And it kind of takes away of what you want to achieve, and you're more like in the moment, just there, like being actually present, not like
Yeah.
I believe that
100%.
a lot of people see stoners as they're in their own mind, but we're actually present in the moment, but we just don't know to say all the things.
Yeah, and the problem is when you do something in the a lot, like a lot of frequency, like that perception becomes distorted, and it becomes reality that you're living in. Like I can tell you, like after a month and a half, like there's not a single drop of THC in me anymore, you know. So it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like comes back in, and like you can actually, I think, have very enriching experiences with marijuana. But if you do it on a consistent basis, like you actually like, and that's, well, not you, I got caught in a lot of thoughts but no action, a lot of thoughts, no action.
Yeah, definitely me
Like
too. Uh,
yeah, it's just like that's the problem. Like when you're like, yeah, you can think beautiful things, but if you're not going to do anything with them, like what's the point? Like I'm not saying what's the point, but it's just like you're you're living in a, like, you know, like your VR goggles, you're putting them
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
every
That's a
time.
good that's a
It's just
good
like, and
analogy that you gave there.
because like what do you want, what do you want to accomplish, like what is it like today? So when I was seeing that, I was just like, I know this is like weird a little bit, like I'm not a patriot or anything, you know, but when I was like looking at the, like, I really love this country that I'm in right now, the US. It's just like, it's weirdly beautiful. It has, it's like filled with scars of human beings, but like every, like I think what makes this country so unique a lot of times, and this was my perception when I was high, you know, like I'm just telling you, like what makes this country so unique is because there's so many different people and so many different identities trying to understand what the word of freedom is, you know, whether it's
Yeah,
black, white, indigenous, like everybody's trying this stuff. So people were taken here forcefully, people were like fled horrible conditions in their own countries, some people just made a choice for a better life, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But everybody's like in this like weird grind and this pursuit of something, and I was just like sitting there, and like all these people that politically I don't probably align with them, but I had really nice conversations with the people there, and it's just like how 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 distorted this country has become. Like it's just crazy to me, and then, like I'm just saying, like that only came through my idea of like being stoned. I just like realized like, oh, what you need as a country, like at least 70 or 60% of a country has to believe in the same core values. If you don't have that, you're not going to have a functioning country.
yeah,
And that's what's happening in the US right now. And I think also in the West in general, you just see this, like, we don't have a shared experience. Like if we all were in the army together, or like we did public service, you know, rich, poor, right, left, like you all have something and you all care about a geographical location, but we don't have that. Our grandparents had that. They went through traumatic things like
yeah.
war and like, you know, like, but we don't. So even that identity is like a lot of, it's weird in the US. It's not common to say, definitely on the left, like you're proud of this country, you know? And I'm just like, why can't you be proud of it? This is not the best country in the world by far, but you can be proud of like all the people that have worked so hard to push the envelope of freedom, you know what I'm saying? And it's not there. And I'm a white man talking, you know, like this country is amazing for me, like I'm not denying that, but like fucking all the enslaved people like that fought for the rights of like you know, like women rights, gay rights, all that shit, that's crazy shit, and I'm so happy that that
It's
happened.
also
But
setting the tone for the global stage, you know? Like a lot of things
oh,
that America tries out and fails or succeeds. Like America is, I think, a state that is trying stuff, you know? Even if it doesn't succeed, it tries stuff and it looks like, hey, this didn't work out or it did work out. Let's adopt this. But
yeah, it's a little bit of
I also want to touch on something you said that I haven't clicked on myself too good yet, until now, is that a lot of the experiences when you abuse weed, it's difficult to distinct what is actually part of the weed, the stoning, and what is part of normal experience. So just like the
so
question,
true.
just
So
like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
question, like how would I be if I didn't stone? It's very difficult to envision yourself having the experiences without total intervene. There's always some intervenence of being stoned or perceptive or whatever, a brain part that you have or whatever. So it's very difficult to envision what your life would look like without weed because the experiences are so entangled. You cannot really tell heads or tails,
It's just yeah.
and that's what I think you touched on nicely. Like the fact that you did it like once in a month and a half or something, it makes you realize what aspects of your thoughts, of your behavior, you can attribute to weed. And I think that's very interesting, because I totally lost that sense. A couple of years ago.
No, and I think like it also like takes the beauty away from that drug, because it's a beautiful. I was like, I went like weed. Holy fuck! You go through such a wave of emotions. You know, there's no question about it. You know, the last time I did it was like after my grandma passed away. So I don't think like that's an accurate way of going about it. Like it was again, I think just like trying to like,
Just a bit
have
coping.
a calmer moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a bit coping, but like, yeah, like 100%. But when I was going through that experience yesterday, so you just go through the waves, and then I have all these beautiful like artistic thoughts in my head, you know, like just like about beauty and life, and like I'm a very loving person usually, you know, like I love people, I love interacting, you
Yeah.
know, I can just have like,
You're social.
it just yeah, but like, yeah, I just like I love, you know, so like it starts radiating out of me, and I was just like having an amazing time, and like I just started driving the car, but like weed, like it's like any trip actually, it goes in waves, and every wave is a different perception the whole time, and it's so crazy to actually perceive weed from a like, how is this affecting Max, you know, like
Yeah.
a vessel, like how is it affecting my, of course it's also like affecting my consciousness, but like I could really see a lot of things. It's just like, why do I care about phone calls? Like it's just a vessel. Like if I was a personal coach to me, like I would be saying certain things, like it's like I could see a lot of, but it was also negative thoughts, you know, sometimes.
That's,
like
by the
it
way, a
goes in-
very good point that you made, that with the usage of weed, that you like distance a bit the vessel and the mind, or the coast, or whatever that you want to call it, and that you are more
Soul.
perspective or perceptive of the vessel you are and in your environment. I really wanted to highlight that, because I think that's very true, because I said before that we are more in the moment, but it feels wrong to say that, because we're actually out of the moment, but we think more about the moment, but we don't
Yeah,
act more in the
exactly.
moment.
Yeah, it was crazy because like I was just like, I don't know, like today, what was it? Like yesterday, it was like 46 degrees here, you know. So like in the evening, it was like it cooled down to a nice 38, you know, or 39. Like, and I was like, but I was just driving on the highway because like okay, I might have been high and driving, like,
Yeah, I didn't want to highlight
but
that, but you did it now anyways.
whatever. Like definitely did that. I was not like high out of my mind, but like yeah, like I put like on cruise control, and like they also have the lane thing so that it just like keeps in your lane. You just have to
Yeah,
hold the thing.
yeah.
It's so amazing. But I just had my windows open, and I was driving like speed limit the whole time. You know, I just didn't care. Like, because if you have your windows open, you actually feel like you're going way faster than when you
Yeah,
have your windows closed all the
of
time.
course.
It's like crazy how that. I was just like, whoa, shit, this is actually fast. Like, it's like I'm just like driving 65. It's like 100 kilometers an hour. It's like, okay, like I was like, whoo. But I was just like driving and driving, and it was beautiful because like I had a lot of beautiful thoughts. I was like thinking about the music, but then there was like these moments where you're just like disassociating yourself, and like I like it's almost like that connection to like something higher than you know, like you just feel like so in tune. But at the same time, there's these down dips that I had throughout, where it's like, oof, like this is a little bit like this is intense. I
Yeah.
don't really like it all the time. It's not a thing. And then you have these moments of sober, like sober, and they become quicker and quicker. Like your sober moments become like first you're like knocked off for like half an hour, and then it's like 25 minutes, 20 minutes, and then that's how your thought
You're mellowing
transforms.
out a bit,
And
like.
yeah. And the intensity and the beauty of your thoughts also mellows out, like 100%. Like by the time I got home, I just like fucking use the air fryer to make some fries, and like I have like zero thoughts going on at that point in my life. You know, like it's just like okay, like I just want to like there's like where like the lazy stoner comes out, and that's also the grogginess that you wake up in the morning, like There's like this after high, and it's like honestly, it's like a little bit like a hangover for
It's like
alcohol, but then for weed,
something. Yeah, it's a bit. I find that it's a better than hangover, but it's just you're very
yeah,
nonchalant. You're like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't care
But
about a
it,
lot of things. I just want to eat fries or something.
yeah, yeah, but that's such a like. But I almost think that's like, yeah, yeah. It's not the same as a hangover, and I don't think we should even compare. But it's just like definitely a negative side about smoking marijuana, or like in
Definitely in the
like I said,
morning.
because of,
I think if
in
you
the
come
morning,
home
like
and you eat some fries and you're just like a bit zombie, that's fine for me. You know, like you had a rough experience, a long experience, and it's a bit of the calm down. But if you feel it in the morning, of course, it's getting negative
oh
then.
yeah, that's no, that's what I was saying. Like the negative side is just like in the morning, and like I got out of bed, and like I have to like drink my like tea and stuff like that, and then you start working out. Like, but it was like it's still something that gripped me a little bit. But yeah, that's the thing, and I just think
No, it was, I
it
think,
all re-
very nice experience to have because it remembers you and it reminds you of what aspects of weed that you were enticed to, like that grabbed you,
yeah,
that you gravitated
and
towards.
and I think like that's very important for people. Like all my weed experiences since that 2 years that I stopped smoking have all been solo. I haven't actually had like yeah, I was with Hector then, but like majority of the time, the weed I was alone, and I think that's good for me too. Like I think like I'm not. Yeah, I was listening to Tom Segura. Like I think I like being by myself when I'm doing this thing. You know, a lot of times it's like a little bit like mushrooms. I can have the experience too. Like I actually I think there I would like to, and I think I would be very comfortable having like a stone experience with you or like my friends back home. But in general, it's just not like it's such a unique like you're going through your own mind. You know,
Yeah.
like and that's what I would recommend anybody who's like a consistent smoker. It's just like try to get back to where that essence of smoking was for you, and like well, what the essence of smoking can be, because like we use it as a crutch, we use it as a way of avoiding uh
Yeah, we'll maybe we
hard
go there
emotion.
in a minute. I just want to add
Okay, cool.
one more thing to your stelling whatever. Oh fuck, I forgot
Statement.
it. That's what it was. I think you hit it. You didn't fully hit it, but you kind of softly touched on it. I think what's important when you're like in a state of abusive weed usage or past that stage, whatever, is that you indeed find those moments. But I think what you were, or the part you did not highlight it enough, is the environment part. I think the things you say like I want to experience is solo is also because I think the experiences you had with us, with the crew back home, were always towards the end pretty similar. We had the same experiences, the same walks, the same music, the same. And because you are now in this new environment and you tried it solo or with Hector, whatever, then you were stimulated in a different way and you realized the aspects of weed that you always had in all those regular experiences. You had those aspects, but it became normalized. You know, it was like, yeah, this is just how a stone session with Banj goes. We talk about this crazy stuff and we listen to some music and we make a walk and that's it. And and you normalize the experience a bit. You're like, okay, this is just normal for us, and then it kind of loses that magic. I think, like you were talking about now, like you have all these great thoughts and insightful things you want to share or talk about or um, think about, and it only comes at these moments when you're like stimulated by your environment plus the combination of weed. Maybe you can even be sober, I think, for some people, but it's easier um, when you're intox or like have a bit of drugs in your system, I would say.
No, exactly. And like I think even doing like a gummy with you would only be very like rewarding to me or like anybody if like you hadn't smoked weed in a month or something, you know? because then you
Yeah.
can be on the same playing field.
Exactly.
It's yeah, exactly. It's like nobody's on my playing field at that point, you know. So like it's just like such, and I think like that's also
Is
something
it
that
plain field or play field? Because I used that word before too, and I was not sure.
uh, playing field, I think.
Plain.
The play,
Okay.
playing like playing a
Playing.
sport.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, sorry to underbreak you.
But yeah, like we just like, but that's also something I probably want to pursue one time, like with like a psychedelic too, just like having that. It's very intense, but that intensity was so beautiful yesterday. I like drove like, I don't know, like 120 kilometers just around the city, you know, like I was just going in my head, and like I went through that whole trip just by myself, and yeah, it's that's what I say. Like this drug is not bad, and I think like I was so fearful of touching it for all these like the last 2 years inherently, and it's good that I was fearful because like I still can see the damage that it can do to me, you know, at least because the
Yeah, to
frequency
others.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I've been much more present with my friends. Like if I wouldn't call most of you guys, you know, if I was just like
Definitely
getting high
not. I
after
think
work.
the times you were in Netherlands, I heard you less than the times you were in the
Or
USA.
like even in the US, even in the US when I was in college, I was getting high all the time. Like you don't care about a lot of things, and that's so weird because like, how is a joint better than like having a conversation with somebody you love? You know, like yeah, it doesn't give you the same satisfaction because you like your problems are there still after you smoke. You know what I'm saying? But it's so much more. There's so much more valuable things that I didn't understand, you know, in life.
Yeah, I think it's
Like that
normal.
was a
Like we were 16, 17, we started using, and then
yeah, we were
you got
harming
on
people like all the
pretty
time.
quickly, I would say. I think for me and other people, it's I think yeah we hit it the ball hit later, or how do you say it? We realized it later on that it was getting to a problem, and you were, I think, pretty early on that one.
Yeah, and I kept on smoking during that problem too. Like I still remember before Rowie, I stopped like 5 months. In my relationship, I stopped like for almost a year. You know, I I definitely had moments in my like I've always known that doing a drug, whatever it is, continuously is no bueno. So whether it's alcohol, whether like if you do it on a daily basis, it's just you're probably not doing
no,
yourself a favor. Like
maybe I was a little bit too general. I think you realized what aspects of life were getting hindered by the
hurt. Oh
abusive,
yeah.
and I think
And
that
I think
was
like
for us
yeah,
less visible or less clear, that we did not
that's what
identify those
yeah.
zones yet.
Like when we go like Friday out, like we would like come 2 hours or 3 hours later to a party because like we were dead set on getting our weed first. You know what I'm saying? Like it was such like trivial things, and like of course, yeah, you can do it, and it was hard for us to get weed, but like why? Like why were we so fiending to get like that
Yeah.
substance? Like so like. Whereas we could have had an amazing time with our friends just drinking, you know, but it was just like not something I I wanted to do, and I think like, but that's a perception again.
I
You
think
don't see it as a
we have
guilt.
two reasons why we smoke weed. If I'm like throughout the conversation I was thinking about it. Um, First reason we have is because we want to experience the situation or whatever we're around, like you at the Formula One, or was it NASCAR? I don't know.
Yeah,
You want to experience it on a different playing field. You want to be like, hey, I have experiences maybe sober already. Let's see what I think and what things pop up in my mind when I'm stoned. But the other fact that why we smoked, or why I smoked weed a lot, is because of the coping, I think, and that's a lot of times I think that's the reason why we actually gave up those precious hours to not be with friends and go fix, because we're like, I cannot deal with certain situations sober, or I think I cannot deal with them, and I want to have myself disconnected from the vessel. I don't want to be stuck in this vessel with these problems. I want to be out there and look at everything above and be like, haha, you suck, you vessel. I like
exactly.
you could do this, or you could do this, or you could do this. You're just too lazy to act upon it, and then it's also something negative, but it's also something that lets you show what the possibilities are. So it's kind of double, you know, like on the one hand you can see all the other experiences and all the things you might do or could have done or could do, but the other hand you're also less you're less present in your vessel or your body yourself, and you just do less action. That's just how
It's
it
so
is, I
crazy
guess.
because like you kind of hit the hammer on the nail there. Was just like talking about the like yesterday. I also had so many like thoughts of like the great things that I could do as a human being. You know, like what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like if I just did
If I
this,
just
you
did
know what I'm
this.
saying? Yeah. But that's a crazy thing. Like yeah, no, 100% true. Like I agree with that, and it's a scary thought actually because it's not that self-evident. And I
But
just like think
it's
like
double, you know. Like we see those opportunities, we see what we can do, but at the same time, we're also numbing ourselves from doing it. So
no, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like I think I'm way more creative when I'm high. There's like a lot more thoughts that go on in
yeah,
my head,
me too.
and I'm like it's definitely a cool thing. But then again, if you don't, it's then the practice. If you don't practice being creative when you're sober, then that's never going to be something that's going to be present, you know. And you have to like reflect upon that. That's why I think drug usage is fine. It's just like moderation is the key to everything. It's discipline. You have to have discipline on
Discipline, yeah.
everything that you do like in life. And that doesn't mean like being a grown up, you know. Like it's just like discipline is a key factor. Discipline and consistency. And if you start like smoking every day, like have discipline, like you can do that if you're satisfied. But I don't think there's a lot of people that are inherently satisfied like by smoking weed every day. Like it's just
No,
like
that's true, I
impossible
think.
because I don't think there's any human being that's really happy there. It's like even like think about like Snoop Dogg or like whatever, like Wiz Khalifa. They come from horrible like situations usually, you know, like they come from like neighborhoods where like people die, people get shot, like all that. Like there's like there's there's trauma rooted in the habit of smoking on a consistent basis, you know. Like there's maybe a couple of hippie people in life that like, oh yeah, oh I just want to smoke and like do all these drugs, but most people, you're doing it because being high is more fun than
It's
life
coping.
itself.
It's
Yeah,
coping.
it's coping.
And I
And
think
like
a
coping,
lot of people realize that, but we're all afraid to admit that. It's something that is shamed throughout society, like you should not abuse drugs and stuff. And it's true, like you say, moderation is key. But it's also something human to abuse something. Like if we see something good, we abuse it. It's just if you make money away, you're gonna abuse that. If you find if you find something that works for you in your company, you're gonna abuse it. Like every system that works for us, we are gonna abuse it. Abusive is maybe a negative word in that sense, but for me, it's like just overusing the amount that you should. It's not something inherently bad, but it
no.
usually leads to something bad, you know. If you
Hmm.
inherently, if all you do is rely on one strategy or one system to get you out of a pickle or out of one to be, then you inherently will run into trouble one day. If all you can do is smoke your problems away, you will have a problem dealing with them at some point. Like you can only smoke them away for such a long time, and that eventually you will have to face them. And I think that's for me is what this channel is all about for me, as personally. Then it's just facing the mountain of problems that I smoked away. It's just like take a look at them and try to fix it sober, like, you know.
Hmm. because that's strength. That takes so much more effort and time than it's like a little bit like I told you I like hike. Oh, did I tell you about the mountain that I hiked? You know, like on
The
Sunday, like I.
You haven't told about the last one yet. No.
Well, yeah, well, this one was it was like on the like 1.5 kilometers like upwards. Like in total, it's 28 kilometers back and forth, right? But it's a little bit the same thing in life. Um, you don't you can stop and reflect sometimes. There's no problem in doing that, but you have to be careful when you're doing it because like life is a continuously moving part, and like if you stop too long in a certain situation, you get stuck. You know, like in hiking, for example, that means that your muscles become stiff and they atrophy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yeah.
I experienced it because like I was walking with people who were not on the same level as me, and after that, I just like keep on going to my goal. And I'm not saying you have to understand like you're on a journey itself, enjoy that journey, but understand like you're going towards something, and like that takes effort. Like the whole time you like when you're hiking, you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, you know, it's the same thing, right? Running or like a marathon or anything like that. It's not an enjoyable thing rooted like you're not like, oh yeah, I love exercise. You know, some people have it, but like most people is like, this is hard. This is mentally draining towards me. But that's what I'm getting at again. It's just like with that being sober, it's training yourself to deal with these like tougher situations. You know, like I deal with it all the time. Like I tell you, like I sometimes I fucking leave my work here with tears in my eyes. You know, like because like it's lonely, it's hard, and it's new to me. Like these
Yeah.
are like hard things to like deal with on a day-to-day basis. But at the same time, it's just like how am I like it invigorates me. It's so wonderful, like how sleep in a day does to you. Like the
Yeah,
next day is a new
it
day.
resets your
Like
mind. You're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
I
it's
can.
like yeah, I could go sleep now, like or I could smoke weed now, and that problem I don't even have to deal with it. You know, because like a lot of times, like even knowing that you're gonna smoke weed, you're not gonna have that cry session in the car because you're just like so focused on getting
Yeah,
that. You know,
exactly.
like
Like you,
but
like
like
your mind is already out there. Like it's already
yeah.
smoking weed.
Yeah, exactly. And then now I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? Like, it's okay. Like, how am I gonna take on the next day? And the next day is a new beautiful day all the time, you know? Like, and it could actually be a sucky day too, and it could be a sucky week. But that's all temporary. Everything in life is temporary. So yeah, like it's
I
crazy to
think
be able to
Bruno
experience
gave
that.
me a good advice there. Like, it seems kind of obvious, but like he said, just take every day like a few minutes. Don't do anything. Don't listen music. Don't sit on your phone. Just feel how you feel, and think what you can make to feel better. That was his advice. Like, I rarely do that. If I go out, I put on music immediately, or I take my phone, or I'm always busy. My mind is occupied with things, or I'm thinking about solving a problem that I'm never really feeling. You know, like even, and I think for me, this is why I see the value in stoning. Like, it's a moment for myself that I can reconnect with my feelings. I know people don't see it that way, but I am kind of at a point with stoning or with smoking weed that I'm now trying to be more unified with my vessel instead of trying to leave my vessel, if that makes sense. That I
Oh,
that
I
I
get what you're
try to
saying.
feel more what I want to achieve, and act upon those things. Like you said, you feel more creative, and I have those ideas too. Like, okay, I can do this, this, and this. I write them down, and then I actually try to follow up on them when I'm sober. And that feels, and yeah, I think that's very good advice that Bruno gave. I want
No,
to.
it is. It's no, it's very like it's really good advice because that's what you do on a hike too. I had my like my earphones in and stuff like that, but like majority I was just like walking without anything,
Yeah,
and then you're just like in the present, step by step. You're thinking, but you're not thinking too much, and it's It's the same thing
Yeah, it comes
as when
naturally,
we,
like it's just
yeah,
flowing out of you. Like, okay, I'm
yeah.
feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way?
It's crazy, and like I have that a lot of times driving a car right now because like it's like they're like I don't know why because like you're at the end of the workday, you're coming back home, and there's all these things come, and that's where I get like I just don't have any music on or anything, and then it's just like it's true, and that can only happen I think in sober moments, and there's like beauty. Like I'm telling you, I was so happy how much I love the people around me in my life. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, I was just like, damn, bro, I have so much love around me, and I love these people so much. You know, and that's all that matters. You know, like 100%, and that's so true. It's all that
It's very
matters.
nice to say.
And
Oh,
but no,
to
but like
not a lot
it's
of
just
people say that, you know, that they feel people's love and share their love
energy.
like
Like
that.
it's like being able to talk to you or anybody like voice. Like you could just have conversations. Joe the sweet, like everybody. Like I can just like damn bro like it's years like and I'm so thankful for like being able to experience life that I was because it could be a lonelier experience than it is and like I have so many benefits and like that's the one thing like what we're getting at too. It's just like that failure. It's just like whatever you fail at you still have your friends, you know, like what I'm saying. And it was like even today, you know, like I told you, like I did the gummy, and you're like, "Oh, it's been a month and a like it's just been a month." Like it's like a gotcha
Yeah,
moment, like a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Which like
that's true. It
honestly
slipped my
doesn't.
mind.
Like, yeah, but it's like it feels like still like oh like you know like oh you're slipping back. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how
That's
it
also my
translated.
how my first reaction indeed was like, oh wait, he's doing gummy again.
Yeah,
But
no, exactly. But that's what, but that's also like kind of like a more negative approach towards
no,
the thing that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because like it's almost rooting against the success of somebody. You
no,
know,
that's true.
like
That's
this is
not
like,
was not a good
but it,
initial reaction.
but it, but that's why I don't want to talk about it like a lot of times when. But I was just like, you know, I'm gonna make an honest like conversation about that too. Like it's just like that's what happened yesterday, and that's what I like experienced, and it like that's how we used to always go about it, you know, like we don't know a different way of framing weed, you know, it's like or you're a stoner or you're not, like it's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can be like
It's
whereas
not
like I
something
just
like
know
we cheer on. Like, hey, good thing that
yeah
you
yeah
stoned
like no
today.
like see like oh like instead of like a conversation like oh how was it, you know what I'm saying, like did you enjoy it, like was it safe,
Yeah,
was it
that's true.
enriching for you, what did you have, like you know. um but that's the thing, like I think that's in everything that we do like a little bit in life, and I just like I enjoy so much, and I I'm glad to have experienced everything that I am experiencing, and like with weed, without weed. I know weed was a crutch for me, and I know a lot of it was like not dealing with stuff, and it was ignorance too on my front, and rebellion, and all these things. But I can ultimately say that weed is a beautiful substance that has to be consumed in moderation, and moderation, like I think like once a month or like even more than, like you know, like even longer periods of time like between that is like essential to like actually come to terms with what that is, like you know what I'm saying. It's like I haven't had a day off in so long, you know, like yeah, like I mean like I have my weekend, but like
Yeah, and
even on
today
my
you're
weekends
also
when
in
I'm
the
off,
office. I was kind of surprised
yeah
that you
yeah
went in.
like I'm here, I'm doing this, like it's you, you don't, but then you have to like the reason why, like I was like no I'm not gonna do that. I had the same reaction that you had towards me this morning about me doing my week with myself yesterday. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like you're just
it's
like
baked.
oh
It's
you're
baked
becoming
into us.
you're again that person, and I'm just like why am I being this, no, it's a
Yeah,
gummy.
that's
It's
true.
literally
Yeah.
one gummy, one day. How is that defining for today? How is that defining for the rest of the week? Like, I'm just why am I feeling like I'm failing because I'm taking that gummy? Like, and maybe that means that I'm not actually at a state of mind where I can actually indulge on that healthily. again, like that could also be a reflection upon that, you know. But on the other hand, I think it's more of like, okay, like understand where you're coming from, and you don't have to be
Yeah,
as anal. I'm
I
sometimes
think
too
it's
anal about
more.
it,
I
too
think
like
it's
black and
more the
white. You
latter
know?
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that's just how society operates. Like it's baked into us that everything is black or white. We don't see the world much of the most of the time in the grayscale. It's always this is good, this is bad. You should do this, you don't do that. You get this education, and then you are a happy life. Like, everything is 0 and 1, like you say, and I believe there is for me. I believe weed is in a bit different stage right now than what you're describing, but I do believe in drug use that is more in that sense of way, I would say. Like I believe for at this point for other drugs, definitely for me it's more like that way. Like I do it once, maybe half a year or something, once in a half a year, something different than weed or alcohol. But for me, weed at this point is more of an, I don't know how to say this. It's like a transitional stage. Because I am was whatever a heavy smoker, and now I'm like more emphasizing the good parts of smoking. So at this point, the days that I'm smoking, I feel good and I feel happy and good about myself because I had other days that I did not smoke and achieved the things that I wanted. I realize I'm not at my full potential yet, but I'm always also contemplating like, do I want to reach the full? It's maybe the root of our conversation here. Like weed gives you a blanket for failure. Like you said in the beginning, oh, you were acting so off on the party. Yeah, I was stoned. Lol. Like you have all these excuses that you can find for yourself why you were not acting normally, um, as the quotes or the as the society expects of us, I would say. And that's where I'm struggling a bit more. Like, where does my balance lay in weed usage? Because I do believe that it has benefits even on a daily basis, but I just know for me that it's not feasible at this point in my life. There are moments that I was
yeah,
like, or there are, I think, times that I could be like, hey, I smoke one joint in the night or in the evening, and I'm satisfied, and that's gonna be it. And I'm gonna wake up revived and like focused the next day without any side effects. But I do believe at this point I would just slip back into all day smoking.
but like, and my question more like, well, not my statement towards that is just you you diminish, I think, a value of a drug by doing it every day. There's no question. Like even if you think there's like benefits towards it, like do the benefits outweigh that one time a month more than like consistently throughout the month? You know what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying?
the different or the difficulty for me to envision where this trade-off is the best or the best for me.
Because
If
like you could have like an amazing like experience, you know, like once a month, and you can look forward to that, you know, and you don't even like, you don't have to say it's once a month. It's just like when the time is right. Like there's like, I had it on the hike. I could have taken a gummy on the hike, you know, like there were like I've multiple times still like people ask me like, do you want? And I'm like, there's no reason for me to do it at this point, you know, like yesterday there was more of like, okay, like I survived a month with my company, you know, like I made it this far, like you know,
a
it's the 4th of July,
celebration,
I don't
yeah.
have to work. Yeah, it's just like a celebration. Like I can feel satisfaction that I did my best throughout the thing. Like I haven't been drunk in more than like, you know, like I haven't been doing anything of like of mind altering substances in a minute. So it's okay then. Like it's okay, and it's gonna be a good experience because like you waited, and now I'm satisfied. And there's still that craving sometimes. Like it's just like, whew. But then it's not that. Like I don't. I would I disagree with the statement of like saying like that there's benefits on a daily usage other than like I don't know. Like for me, like I'm just
Like for
realizing like I
example,
go from the
no, sorry, you go first.
it's like I like from the from the extreme was like, oh, weed, I can't touch it anymore, to understanding like you can have a healthy relationship, and what does that healthy relationship look like? That's where I'm going at. Like it's like an equilibrium, that swings. And I think, for example, I have swung from here to here, and I'm going to the middle. Whereas, like, I think you've swung more, like you're swinging towards like an equilibrium, but you've always stayed on this one path.
I have like a spring
trying
attached
to-
to it that like
Yeah,
keeps
yeah.
it checking back. So
You don't want to, because like you say, like you are trying to see weed in a positive view, but that's always been Benji. Benji has always seen weed as a positive good in his life. There's no question about that.
no,
Like,
I
you've always,
think it's more nuanced what I wanted to say. Maybe it didn't come over very good. I think the aspects of weed that I do find positive, I think I can use them on a daily basis. That's more maybe the road I was going to. But I know the negative parts of weed, the negative aspects, addiction, whatever, they overrule or they overtake that that desire for like just that brief moment that you need. For me, it's just to relax from the world. I sometimes want to disconnect from the vessel, like I just want to be my own high head. I want to think about my own stuff and make my own moves in my head. And then when I come back in my body, my vessel, whatever, then I can act upon those moves. Because I feel like throughout the day when I'm not sober, and I don't have a good reference, so whatever I'm saying about being sober, it's totally poop probably, but whatever. When I'm sober, I don't feel like I can have those ideas or those thoughts that actually matter to me. Like, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I want to see myself? What do I like? What do I don't like? What do I want to get better at? What do I don't want to get? I feel like if I'm sober, it's just automatic pilot life, Life is just automatic pilot. So in that sense, for me, I believe that there is a value in daily basis. But I do also agree that drugs should be used in a way more sporadic way. I'm not promoting people to smoke every day. Like, that's the least I want to do. Like, I don't really care about other people that much in that sense. I would say they don't have to smoke, but people make their own choices. So if people want to smoke every day, like, I understand that too. I see value in it. So that's just my point.
No, I think so too. It's just more like, yeah, I think there's like just value. I think like the problem just being is that we expect life to be more dynamic than it actually is, Like it's true. Like, yeah, your life is boring. Most of the time, like a lot of it is a boring thing, But that's where I'm saying, like, because I stopped smoking weed, I started like running, I started doing other things, and you feel that time that you build towards other things, like all those thoughts you can actually start translating into different hobbies, You start actually interacting with people more. You go to you go au cafe, you go whatever, like you can,
That's true.
It's boring. It's boring because you make it boring a lot of times, Like it's like, yeah, if you're gonna do exactly the same thing that you were gonna do as you stone, which is basically go home and roll up a joint and sit in a couch, yeah, fuck yeah, life is boring then. But if you make that action into something different, then it's gonna have a different result. And I'm not saying it's gonna be as satisfying, and it can be stuck because, like, you can see in our friend group sometimes people don't respond to your text message, nobody wants to do anything, like like there's like a lot of things.
Don't have to do me
happen.
Like that.
No, but
just
it's
kidding.
true. But it's like all these things, but there's like way different ways of approaching that daily thing. The benefits can be found in other things too, and it's like, again, it's more the fear of failure that they won't add up to what that weed is, for you at a daily. Like, I think you're like, it's scary to think like, shit, like, yeah, but what if it's not? Yeah, what if it's not as good? Who cares?
That's what I'm trying now. I'm trying to be more sober.
That's what I'm. But it's like that. That's the thing. Like, it's understanding, because like the one time you like really stopped smoking weed was because you were like looking for a job after you're like you wanted to
No,
go for a doctorate
with
and
my
all that.
exams, I think I always stopped with my
No,
exams.
no, but like remember that long time during COVID? It was
Oh
2021.
I was
We were like we
depressed.
were
Oh yeah,
walking.
depressed, whatever.
Both of us were like looking for our next move in life. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? You were still in a relationship that you didn't really enjoy that much at that point, like, or you thought you were enjoying, you know,
I
and
thought, I guess.
you, yeah, like you were looking for a job, and me and you were both in that boat, you know. And I had stopped 2 months before, like a month before, you know, like because like I still remember sitting on a bench like in Beauregard with you, and I was just like, yeah, this is not it anymore. Like I was like, I can't do this. That was maybe with Nicola too. Like I was just like, I can't do this. And then I grabbed a joint one time, like a half joint out of the garbage, like the next day, and I started smoking that. I was
I
like, I
remember
really have
that
a problem.
you told me
Yeah.
that.
And I was like, I really have a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a good thing. And actually, that's also like something within our relationship. Like I felt like when we were both sober, we were both like going on walks every day. We were like trying to figure out, because it was bullshit. Like I'm not saying BS, excuse me, but it's like kind of BS in my understanding, is because like we were thinking about what our next moves is, what did we want in our life, you know, and also acknowledging the inherent sadness that surrounds us, you know, like you had the failure of not getting into a doctorate program, like getting rejections, you know. I was like, I didn't do well on my college in the US, and I study African American history. Like I didn't know where the
Yeah,
fuck I was gonna go. Like the only thing that I knew was like that I was smoking for years, you know, and I didn't care about school. And that was like crazy things. And like we talked about these things in depth at that time, you know? And I think like we were much more honest than we were ever high. Like there was no question about it. Like your your ability to actually understand the relationship that you are was much more profound during that time period. It was like, oh shit, I actually didn't like all these things that were happening. Like the way she like does this with me, the way she does that with me. You know what I'm saying? You were like, because like you used to smoke those things away and you didn't understand. It's like, oh, I can deal with it, you know? Like I don't care. But like
yeah,
then afterwards,
it's a weird time, I guess, because I remember that I was also not always smoking there. Like she was really adamant about me not smoking
oh,
around, so
oh,
I must have
yeah,
been
like you
sober
were,
a lot of times with her, um,
but not
with
with
my
us.
ex.
With us, you were, oh,
No,
yeah,
with you
yeah.
guys, I was always stoned. Like that was a safe haven, you know, like my coping zone. And I
Yeah,
think
like
it's very true what you say. I think in that period we both realized how sad life is, and it's not a bad thing. It's like we try to smoke that away, or we try to make life beautiful, more beautiful than it sometimes is. Sometimes it is just a shit pile of whatever cow shit, and
yeah,
that's just how it
like yeah,
is.
and that's how we connect. Like that's what I'm saying. Like in that shit, we were both growing through it. You know what I'm saying? We were both going through shit. Like you can connect there in that moment, and I was like, I was so happy because like it was like it had been years since we had that relationship that we were actually sober and like talking on it. Like,
Yeah,
and I still remember like that was like one of my biggest disappointments. Like you got the job and like literally you drove to the Netherlands and you got like I don't know 5 grams of weed like directly, you know, and you didn't tell me anything that like or like no, you went to Leuven. That's what you did. You went to Leuven
to
to
Boris.
Boris
Yeah.
and yes, like and you were like directly, I'm gonna get a 5 grams of weed. Like after not smoking for like 2.5 months or like 3 months, you know, like it was just like a clone sober, and you want a million miles into that again, you know, like you finished that. Even Boris was like, holy fuck, like you know, like you were, and I was so because like after that you didn't like you were just like getting high every like in our relationship again like shifts to
Diminished it, yeah.
like yeah, because you don't want to do anything anymore. Like you don't want to go for walks. Like you're okay with sitting at home. Like all these things, and that's when I want to hold like you and I think like people who listen who do like habits like that accountable to words. It's like yeah, you have certain things that are beneficial when you're doing like the smoking, but you also have detrimental things. And like you even tried to frame it into like, yeah, there's like good daily things, but like what other daily things do you do that are as like healthy? Like, do you create other things too? Like you all you have in life is time, and you use that time in a valuable or in a less
No, but
valuable
that's
way,
the
you
thing.
know?
I think the point I was making a bit earlier. Like, I find it very difficult to find the balance between being full potential and just sitting back and relaxing in life. And I see, for me, I see there the value in like, if I'm sober, I'm very focused. Very, I want to achieve the most I can. I want to make the most out of my day. But I don't know if I don't feel like that's always the thing I really want or need. And I think there is my counterbalance, or where I see value in weed, because it can provide me with an ease of mind or a peace of mind, or whatever the expression is, and just a laid back approach to a certain situation when you're maybe too involved. For example, in
Hmm.
the household here, we have a lot of discussions sometimes about trivial stuff to outsiders, but for insiders, it's really like, okay, we have to deal with the cleanliness of the house. It's just part of where we live, and we have to deal with it. What do we have as options? And sometimes I feel way too invested to make sure that we get the right solution and that everybody's on board and that everybody is the most happy they can be, that I forget, like, for myself. Sometimes I got so worked up to fix other people's problems, and then when I smoked a joint, I was like, dude, I have nothing to do with these problems. Let me take a step back and let's just assert it from here, the situation. And if they require my input, I will give it. If they want me to say something or ask my opinion about it, I will give it. But I'm not the problem here. I'm not part of it. And that clicks for me when I'm being stoned. And I cannot say that it wouldn't click when I'm being sober, because I have not, like I say, not a much reference days of soberness. Also not a long streak of soberness, I would say. But I do feel like there I see value in taking a step back, being a bit laid back. And I say daily basis, but it's just when you need it, like if it's a rough day and you feel like you've worked or overworked, I would suggest for myself to smoke a joint then. And that's
Hmm.
I
But
see that's the value, I think,
but
for
is it
me.
but is it also not like there? And I think like I think we've like covered most of that what we would cover, but like there again, and I just want to frame it clearly, is that rough day equals understanding of like failing a little bit, right? Like it's not the best feeling in life, and you don't want like we don't want to confront it. We would rather want to like disassociate from that rough day. And I think like that's the thing a little bit. That's the essence of, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
that's
it's a
that's
bad
I'm not
thing.
clear if that's a good, like, I don't want I know what your point is
No, no,
going, and
no,
you can finish it in a second, but for me, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that I can dissociate from the
no.
problem.
Oh, and I think, but I think like there is like inherent value of like doing that on yourself, you know? Like, for example, when I had a bad day, I went for a run, felt like a shitty day became a mediocre day. You know what I'm saying? And all I relied on was myself. I didn't need anything outside, you know? Like sometimes like, or it's like a friend that I call, but that's because of the relationships you built. Like the weed is nothing you do. It's something you consume. You don't have to put effort into weed. Weed is there. It's an ever-present thing. Other things you have to put
Mm.
effort, and you don't know the outcome inherently of the other things. It's like, why do we like McDonald's? Is it the best burger you ever had?
It's fast. That's the best thing.
No, it's fast, and you know the taste.
Yeah.
Those fries, everywhere you go, it's the same fucking fries, bro. And you're just comfortable with it. You don't have to think about it. You're not gonna be like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this Big Mac. No, you know, like I'm gonna probably enjoy it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Is it gonna make me feel great? No, but it's my consistency. Like going for a run, you don't know if that run is gonna make you feel better. Like inherently, yeah, you could, but you're just like there's so many barriers. Like calling a friend, you don't know how that conversation is gonna go. Like there's all like I sometimes call multiple people, nobody picks up. Like that's like a oh shit. Like where am I gonna go right now
Yeah.
with those things? And like I'm saying, actually, you're thinking way more in depth when you're not reaching towards that substance because you have to find different ways of like getting to the same point. And I think it's possible without
I
the
think it's
substance.
very good what you're saying, or very true what you're saying. Like I said before, the weed solution for me is like my main way of solving it, but there are like millions of ways of solving a problem. And like I said before, we need to be comfortable trying other things. And I think that's indeed very true, and that I realized for myself already. Like if it's a bad day for me, it's very difficult to say no. Like I can almost not stop myself if I'm having a bad day, and that's a bit worrisome. Um, Especially when I need to take a step back or something. Like I should be able to analyze a problem when I'm sober and realize like, hey, it has nothing to do with me. But instead,
Oh yeah,
I feel like I can
and
only have those moments when I'm stoned. So that's a bit difficult for me because I have not experienced life sober enough to actually know what aspects I can attribute to weed and what aspects I can attribute to myself.
that's what I'm saying. Like I think a lot of times it just like takes like like for example, if Boris goes to Houthalle to chop wood, like those things are fucking cathartic. These are really good things for people to do. These are good habits to have because you escape like the life that you're doing, like in a
Yeah.
very different essence. And like go one time there without bringing any weed, and just do those actions. Like just be there, like have a couple of beers, like smoke cigarettes. Like you can definitely like do other things, but like if that's your crutch, just try to find something different and like go for a walk on the Schelde with music. Like if sometimes it's just like the habit sometimes of smoking and just like doing something like that you can just work through it like and see what 2 weeks like I'm just saying this for the large audience that you're like
The
it's
one
just like
viewer.
also like the yeah but it's just like for the people who are doing this too it's just like take your step back and try to build a habit around that and if it doesn't work go back but never see it as going back just see it as like I'm gonna strategize
Alternative
something differently
options. Yeah.
alternative options that like there's again just try always keep on trying that and then, like if like that is not a healthy approach I can tell you that like if like you're having a bad day and that's the first thing you're reaching for that's like
No,
it's not
that's the part that worries me the most.
yeah and that's a thing like honestly try to smoke your joint when like on a happy day like say that for like like every time I'm feeling sad I'm refusing to touch this. But when I'm feeling happy, like if I have a good day, okay, I could smoke a joint. Like try to reverse that. Just do it like a reversal. What does that do on the psychological? And probably you're not even gonna smoke that much weed because like when you're happy, you're gonna be like, I don't have to smoke this. And like when you're sad, you realize to yourself like, shit, I promised myself I'm not gonna do this. Like I'm gonna do something else, and that's gonna push you. I'm just saying like there's a reason why I was in Houthal all the time, like there's a reason why I wanted to chop wood, like even like during the
yeah.
week, like there's a because I wanted to fill with accomplishments and a sense of doing something good for myself. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to be with Boris, who I love. Like stuff like it's just like good times for me, like taking the dogs on long walks in the Counthouse ahead or going to like what's the forest called underneath Brussels? Is Zoni? It's not a Zoni. I think
What was it that?
yeah, like yeah. You just do those things. You know what I'm saying? Like going for a walk. Like I pushed. Remember when I went to Peersbos? Was it Peersbos? No. We went to Peersbos with Zoe, you, or no, Jules, me, you, and Zoe. Yeah, was that Peersbos?
Yeah, it
You
was
remember?
somewhere there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like I still remember that well. Like I had the blue sweater on with my pants and
with your
those
dogs, and
things that
then in the car, and
yeah,
then You realize I
Yeah.
paid a lot of money for those dog hairs.
Yeah, shit.
I never wanted to tell you, but actually just throwing it out there, you know, like that cost me a fortune, that one trip with the dogs. Yeah. Cost me like $200 or something.
Holy fuck, it's crazy.
So I'm never doing that shit again, just so you know.
Nee, maar je moet gewoon die honden in kooien zetten.
Yeah.
Like, you have
But
to
yeah,
do
Otis
cages, you
doesn't
can't-
want to be in the kooi in the back. He likes to sit in the front.
They like sit on everything in the front. But no, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
if I
that's
would
true.
give recommendations, it's like today I have to do something. Like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go to a lake after this. I don't know what it is, you know. And it kind of fills me with anxiety because like I don't have a plan today, and it's not fun. I don't have a friend to hit up. Like let's go chill at my pool. You know, we don't
Yeah.
have to do anything. It's not happening. So yeah, like just like navigate that, and I would say like the journey that you're on is honestly fascinating to see because like you're doing things that you're passionate about and you're trying to explore, and I think like that's more than anybody ever can and should be doing in their life, and you're asking the right questions, and I don't have the answers either, you know what I'm saying? Like
No, that's
I'm
what
just, like,
what this whole thing is about, you know. I think none of us has all the answers. Everybody has like one piece of the puzzle, and we're trying to make a whole puzzle along the way, but yeah, we don't know which, like you said, like I'm gonna try that thing if I'm feeling bad. I'm gonna go for a walk or something. I'm gonna try to not postpone at least the sensation that I want to smoke, and I just want, because I've did it before with fitness, but it's not good enough, because with fitness I was like, okay, let me first go to the gym and then I can smoke, so I was just postponing it.
having a friend, Benji, like having a friend to do this with is like one of the most, like I don't think I would have been able to stop smoking without having like Boris, you, Nico, like in those things, because like we were all in the stoning club kind of, you know, like, and Nico stopped at the same time with me, and it made like we were going on walks continuously, and also like that is a very good thing, like because like you have people to bounce, like you don't always have to be alone with your thoughts, you know, like that's not a positive thing, but like find somebody that you could do like do those things with, because like yeah, it's inherently bad. It's just like breaking the cycle of like, because like then we becomes a negative feedback loop, you know. It's like I feel this, I need this, I feel this,
Yeah.
I need this, whereas like it could be a positive. I had no negative thoughts yesterday when I took the only like the fear of like, oh, am I going to be a stoner, but that was the furthest I was going to be.
Yeah.
Like there was like my life was good. I was at a racetrack, I was enjoying myself, like damn, that's like it's only gonna increase the moment that I'm in. It's not gonna take me out of it, and I think like yeah, that's
But I
the healthiest.
I want to add to that I almost never feel bad or sad when I'm smoking. Like
Oh no, I don't think like either.
it's
Like
it's for me like
feel-
it's definitely a coping mechanism. Let me say that in that way. When I'm using it on bad days, but like I realized a bit myself, and like you explained here in depth, I think we need to be more comfortable experiencing bad days, bad experiences, bad situations, and that we just
It's
have
just
to
like
realize what went wrong there and try to work towards a solution that actually fixes that problem.
it's kind of crazy. Like it was like yesterday I was driving also, and like this was like probably a little bit like just like filming a little bit, but like I was driving home yesterday and I had food. I bought food. It's my food. Like I had to cook it, but I had such a craving to have pizza. I wanted pizza. Like it was simple. I wanted fatty foods, you know, sugars. I was just like, fuck, I want this. I want this. I get home. I eat a couple of chips and I start cooking. That need for pizza was gone within an hour. Like it was still in my head the whole time, even when I was cooking. Like I could still order it, you know. Domino's is just there, like it's just there, like you know what I'm saying. But then it was gone, and that's the same thing with weed a lot of times, and any others, like with cigarettes too. The initial craving is something. When you crave something, it's probably not something that you need, you know? When you want to do something, if it's like random, then it can accentuate. Craving is not inherently a good thing. Craving, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have not thought about that in that way yet. What is craving? Is that it bad?
Like, craving
Hmm.
is like you, like a necessity, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
it's
know what craving means, but I'm just thinking for myself, how do I experience it? I guess
it's
it's
like
always a bad thing, but I have not thought about it too deep yet. But it's a
it's like
interesting thought that I want to ponder on a bit later.
it's like Pavlov's dog, you know. It's just like you get reward. You start like we said, like you start thinking about smoking before you even start smoking. You know, like your whole day, like your whole car drive is just like occupied on this. You're not reflecting anymore on like why was my day shitty? Like what can I do? Like it's just like oh tomorrow's another day. I'm just gonna smoke it. You know, like it's good. I'm gonna watch a series. Like I'm gonna, and that's okay. But it's also like I think that's not where you want to be in life right now, like to be honest, and that's not where I want to be in life either, and that's something that's beautiful because you're just like I think you're like you undersell the waterfall that you have because it's a very broad waterfall, you know, like it's a huge
Yeah, there
waterfall,
are a
like
lot of ways you can go in the
like I
waterfall, eh?
yeah,
But
exactly, you just like go, you end up at the same point, it's at the bottom, you know,
yeah,
but
maybe that's a bit too gloomy. Like the bottom seems like dead, but I mean it's actually like with every aspect or decision you make in life, like the fact that you turned or tried smoking weed was maybe preset from birth, you know? That's how I view it. And I think we can make decisions that steer ourselves a bit away from it or that it becomes something that we try on later. But I think at some point in your life, you would have tried weed, you know? In that
no
sense, that I.
exactly, and I have like, and I will never regret those things. Like I've had an amazing time, I have amazing things, and I think I've learned so much strength in myself with like dealing with my problems head on a lot of times, and I still am shitty at it, and I still suck at a lot of things, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and it's just like looking forward to certain things, you know, like knowing that Boris is probably coming in the summer, you know, seeing you guys maybe in the end of the summer, like stuff like that. That's what life is hype about. Like we don't need constant satisfaction, and we have to get out of that fucking cycle as human beings. Like to like reach true satisfaction. Satisfaction is not happiness. It's not
But
sadness.
let
It's balance.
me say this then. How about somebody that is satisfied with their life? Like I told Nico like a story that I saw online about basically a wood chopper that was just totally fine being a wood chopper that didn't need any external goal or societal goal in his life. He was just happy being a wood chopper. He was
Yeah.
satisfied being a wood chopper.
Yeah.
Is that, how do you view that then? He's like every day satisfied just by wood chopping.
Oh, but he found something that he's passionate and like fills him with like is fulfilling in of itself. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something good. Like that's like a little bit Marxist
But
kind of
in
thought.
some
Like
way we have to chase satisfaction then, no? If
no,
that.
no, of course you do want to like be satisfied, but I can tell you he's gonna have some off days too chopping wood. You know, maybe he like fucking hurts his shoulder. You know, and he can't chop wood for a month. It's gonna suck ass for that guy
Yeah.
because like that's like, but there he also has to find another way to reach a certain level of fulfillment that he gets out of wood chopping. You know what I'm saying? And what like think about that, like if wood chopping, what is that wood chopping for you? Because that's an action that he does. It's not something that he takes. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's not something that's presented to him. He has to put effort into it, and that's what I'm saying. Like true satisfaction comes from effort. Like weed can never satisfy the same way because like if you do weed with an action, if you go hiking and you do that, like what you're actually hypest about is like at the end of the day the hike that you did. The weed could have made the experience more fun, but it's the action that you undertook. You always have to put in something to get something out. It's just like kind of the laws of
Yeah.
like nature, you know,
Yeah,
like
that's
every action has
thermodynamics, huh?
like, yeah, yeah. So like that's the same thing that the way life applies, and that's what you were like also saying. Like all my actions when I'm dead, they're still gonna be present. They've been transformed in different forms of energy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always there. Like the actions that like our ancestors took, they have rippled down like it's energy, like just transfer of energy, like into out and in and out of everything. So that's what I'm saying. Like that wood chopper is satisfied because he puts action and he puts something into work. Nicola is satisfied with his job because he's pursuing his passion and he's putting like something. But it like probably his greatest satisfaction comes from in the woodworking shop where he's actually designing tables and doing that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like that's where he sees his future in. And if you have that, like people call it a hobby or whatever, you know, but it's a passion that you input something out and you get an output. It's like with you stocks and stuff like that. I think like that's a big passion. Like you created like algorithms. No, but it's true. But like you created algorithms. You were passionate. Like it's also like you have to get rich quick. Like I like
Yeah,
there's like
it's
that goal, but
especially
also, like,
especially that was driving me.
yeah. But on the other hand, it's also like you put a lot of effort. You put spreadsheets. You put like your mind to work. And at the end of the day, you had a product to look at. You know. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
gonna
That's
start
what
that
I'm
again,
saying.
but with crypto. Gonna do a crypto bot again for the 25th time or something. But whatever. No, I really like your answer. I think that's a very big distinction, that things that require action or that you partake action with are way more valuable and more things you should chase than the sense of satisfaction. Like, I can have a good week and I can smoke on Friday and be like, okay, I deserve this, but I'm still not doing anything new then at that point. So that's definitely something I want to change.
Yeah, go like I swear to God, like we have so many friends like that have like I would recommend anybody who listens to this, like make sure that you go like to Houtala once, like you know, like it's there.
Yeah,
Like
we've
go
been
do
last
that,
week
like
chopping wood for my first time.
yeah, exactly. But it's fucking fun, you know, like it's
That's
just like
true.
so and do it without weed, like do it like just being there and just sitting there and like taking everything in because like there is a very beautiful place to take everything in and like also
Yeah,
just
it's.
going on
I
all
said it
the
to
wanderlingen.
Shoss. It's like the dream thing, you know. Like every man would like this location. I especially men. I don't say women wouldn't like it, but I feel like it's the epitome of what a man wants to have in his life.
No, exactly. At least that's what we want in our lives. But okay, Benji,
Yeah,
I had a wonderful time talking to you. I thank you
no,
so much for
definitely.
having me on
Thank you
the
for
like having me on.
taking time and actually like this is your holiday and you're actually spending it in the office for good connection, I think. But I really appreciate it because yeah, I think we talked about a lot of important stuff that maybe we shared with each other a bit. But I think also like now we went way deeper than usually, and also in more
Hmm.
clear terms. Like we tried to make this clear to people that don't experience the same way we experience life yet. And I think that's very valuable. So I really want to thank you for that.
No, and that's exactly because like I think like a lot of it is just like listening to people and like it's phenomenal. Honestly, it's just like crazy how this journey of life is gonna go and like it's just like remembering like yeah, a lot of the pressures that we put on ourselves, if that would be my final thought, is like again, it's external, but it's all gonna fade, and there's something beautiful about that, you know. Like it's all it.
It means a
We
lot
all
when you're
like
young, but it doesn't. But that's where
yeah,
your
it's
internal compass, like I think you're more hinting towards, like the external factor, the external pressure decreases over time, but that
yeah,
means that inherently means that our internal pressure needs to make sure that we're
increase.
still going in the right direction that we want to go.
Exactly. Where do I want to end up? Yeah, exactly. Like pushing that, like the envelope, because you'll have to rely more on yourself, and at a certain point, you're just gonna be looking back at like I think we're gonna all look at our lives like we all make it, you know, to a certain age, it just like you'll have children or not, and you're like a wife, and you know your children will have children, and it's just like you're just gonna look and it's gonna be like, yeah, fuck. Why was I worried that much? Or like, you know, like all these
Yeah.
things, like these, like there's gonna be a lot of that, and there's just gonna be like you're gonna be so much happier with the little things. It's gonna be present because like it's still we're so future oriented at this point, and that's the
Yeah.
beauty of being young, you know. But you only live in the present. Like the future is not never there, you know. Like it's just like it's always something that you chase. But stand still, like what Bruno said, is like it's literally what meditation is, you know.
Yeah, he said that, like, if you don't really want to meditate, just sit somewhere or make a walk or, like, just be with your
and, like,
thoughts and your feelings for a few minutes a day.
And I would also always like, and one thing to add to that, if you're really having a bad day, like think about certain things that you like. You can write it down or just think, but like that you're thankful for. You know, like just like, bro, I had this good experience this week. You know, like that kind of made my day that day. Like this one phone call. Like I don't know. Every time I end a phone call with you guys, I'm just like happy. You know, like I'm pumped. Like
Yeah, we
it just
got
like makes me like.
richer in life, I guess. Like, I feel that way. Like, we, like I say, we all have puzzles we all have pieces to the puzzle, but we rarely, or not rarely, but I think more often we need to piece them together, you know, like, hey, what have you found there in America that can help here, and that can also help us here in the Europes, and what can we give, yeah, what can we give as support so that you, like, what pieces are you missing over there? And I think, yeah, that's
Love, friendship, you know.
two things
No,
I
no,
cannot
it's good.
give. I'm sorry. No.
No, but it's all good, man.
Yeah,
Like, I appreciate it.
it's been a blast, man. I really like it.
Yeah.
And
Talk
it
to you
went
soon. I
very
can't
smooth,
wait.
actually. Yeah. It's, I thought it was gonna be more difficult with internet and just like it's easier to talk and jump in with each other if you're like live in the same room. But now we didn't like talked over each other too much or something, so yeah, it went really smooth. I
No,
think.
but I think we also like I've listened to so many podcasts, and I like sometimes I realize like we would talk at the same point. Like it's just like very important to shut up sometimes in a podcast. You know, like it's just like let somebody speak, let somebody else speak. Like, and I think we're pretty good talkers in general. We can just talk for nonsense.
Yeah, we've
hours.
talked a lot to each other, so we just feel
Yeah.
when we can pick in or something.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
No, all right. See ya,
Sounds
man.
good, bro.
Have a beautiful day. I hope you reach
4th
a
of
lake.
July, America.
Enjoy indeed the Independence Day, so the day you became Americans, not Europeans anymore, I guess. Is that the
Today we
origination?
fucked off from the fucking British, man.
We
Yeah,
fucked up.
It was like it was like kind of funny. What was this meme? It was wait, I took it down. I have to
Good
find
meme
it.
to end the podcast. I like it.
I sent it to somebody. I must have sent it to somebody. Okay. Why is cancelled in the UK but cancelled in America? So there's two L's in cancelled in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? Because we gave you that L in 7076. It's just like this American.
America. The most American meme ever.
No, because we gave you that L in 7076. I was like laughing. There's been some good fucking memes like America. It's just like it's good. Benji,
All right.
Maxi's out. I have to
Yes.
occupy my loneliness now.
No, man,
Yeah.
you're doing very good, I think. And if you're feeling lonely, you know where to find people. So you're doing good
On Tinder, bro.
on Tinder, on
But-
Grindr, you mean?
Grindr, yes. I'm such homo these days.
Oh no, is it only for homos? Oh damn, that's why.
That's why I only get dick pics sent at me. Okay, mucho.
Yes. Adios. Ciao, kiss.
Adios, man. You.
All right. I guess that was it for the day. Let me switch this one on. Boom, boom, boom. So, yeah. We didn't get to all the questions as per usual, but anyways, see you guys later. I'm gonna eat something because I'm starving.